get that.
Okay.
Maybe get it for next week if we can.
Okay, looks like we're ready to go. Apologize for being a little bit late. We had planning commission and we were honoring Darlene St. George for her decades of service, so she retires at the end of this month. We're gonna start tomorrow's meeting. It is we have a resolution for National Agriculture Week, but before we get into that, roll call, please.
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Here.
Mr. Malloy,
Here.
Ms. Frenchco.
Yeah, like you said, it is, National Agriculture Week, so we'll have a resolution, and we'll have, some representation of the Farm Bureau, I believe, is gonna be here. I would ask, we are, as you'll see later in the agenda, we do have a check, for you, Bishop Aaron. So if you will be here tomorrow, I'd like you to lead us in prayer at the beginning, if we could, tomorrow. Appreciate that. And do we have anything pressing needs to go to the front, for anyone that has to get out of here?
Edria Minkiewicz.
Okay. Edria, you have the floor.
Thank you.
You have, I know you talked loud and very clear, but, so the world can hear you.
Hi, I'm Edria Minkiewicz from the Board of Elections, Deputy Director. I want to give the commissioners and everyone an update in the county and thank them for supporting the precinct election officials for our county workers. I just want you to know that we have 14 county employees working. There's only 4 new ones. 10 of the 14 have always used their own time, work, so that's that. But on another note that I'm here, I'm asking the commissioners that all the work that was done at the board office, we still have in the warehouse temporary lighting that has been put up there approximately 5 years ago that was never replaced. We've been asking for bids the last couple years, and Mr. Spolinski and Mike,
Bill Hart, Bill.
tell us, Bill, sorry. Sorry, I need him.
That's all right,
They're temporary.
we can't pronounce your name.
I know, so I don't feel bad. No, it's good. We did get 1 bid quote. We're going out for 2 more quotes. We've asked the prosecutor's office, we're under $75,000. And we just want your support on this. We've been working there with, we have everything exposed, the lighting's gone, and they could probably tell you more about it than I could.
Well, we've been back there, we've seen it too. Maybe Commissioner Malloy hasn't, but, in my years here, I've seen it, so I know that it's desperately needed, yeah.
Okay, well, I thank you, and thank you for letting me, and please, everyone, go vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we're good. Okay, yeah, Commissioner, I definitely would support that.
Yes.
We don't wanna have a project done, but not really be done, things
Right.
pending and hanging, so. Okay. Anybody else crunched on time? All right, dispense with the reading of the minutes, approve the bills, Ag Week, with the resolution for Ag Week. And it's something we need to recognize, we do have over 1,100 working farms in the county. We have many mega farmers, not just farmers, many farmers advocates in the county. So I think the Farm Bureau will be accepting this, but will be accepting on behalf of all the hardworking farmers we have in the county, in all 4 corners, actually. So I don't think there's an area that doesn't have some form of a farm that's out there, and we appreciate that, and we're proud that we are still at least I'm proud at least that we're still a rural community more than we are a, urban community, so. Number 4, receive the amended certificate of the County Budget Commission for the fiscal year January 1 to March 4, 2024, for certification of all funds of Trumbull County. Auditor Yoder?
I have the next few, actually.
Okay.
So this one is the amended certificate of all of our resources. This was approved by the Budget Commission, last week when, in my absence. You received 12 pages along with, the agenda items, so you should have had that to review. Number 5 is to approve the transfer of the 2024 estimated sales tax revenues to the general fund and general fund retirement fund. The transfers of the sales taxes to the general fund will be done on a monthly basis for 001. The general fund, and the transfer of the sales tax to the general bond retirement fund will be done in April for the June debt payments, and October for the December debt payments. And so that gives you the amounts there. Number 6 is to approve additional appropriations. Domestic Relations Court is for electrical work. The second one for domestic relations is, a special revenue fund, and the NeoCap is, just to sort of balance, they do their books in both Munis and QuickBooks, and it's sort of to balance everything out. Again, this is money that was received but not appropriated through Munis. Transfer of appropriations, the Common Pleas is, for purchase of vehicles. The Sheriff's Office is for GPS trackers. The Domestic Relations is shredding services. Board of Health is to fix an over budget that incurred towards the end of the temporary, when we were in temporary mode. Number 8 and, 8, 9, and 10 are all very similar. They are creations of funds for, the different projects that are going to be done, utilizing the, funds from the note, which will be coming to the county on Thursday. The first one is for, the county engineer garage project. The second one is the stone building project, and the third one is the county engineer office building project. That's it.
Okay, so the engineer's stone building and the engineer's office.
Great.
And I guess while we're on that point, Mike, since you're here, can you give us an update on the status of the engineer's garage, where we are with the bid and the process there to get that moving? Because there are some rumors floating around out there on who's stalling it and why it's stalled, and it came up a couple times, I noticed in some social media posts and in some comments in the paper.
Mike Zelinski, Trumbull County Building Official. So, what we had done originally, we had gone out for requests for qualifications. Those were graded and scored. The top 3 of the qualified, firms then received an email last week. They've all 3 confirmed that they've received it. And what we have now is a request for proposals. So the proposal is dated for the end of this month. We give them time to finish their costing. Then they will submit proposals to us. Those will be evaluated, and then we'll make our recommendation.
Okay, will there be a live interview with that, or when they submit them, or is it just submitted?
That's up to us if we wanna do that.
Okay, and this is all approved by the prosecutor's office, this is the process recommended
We're
by
following,
Bill?
we're following the law to the letter.
Okay, you're cool with all that, Bill?
This project is, the reason this project is a little different is that the building department, chose to, and you guys, I guess, indirectly chose to use the, design-build process rather than the traditional design and then the construction, general construction model. That is allowed by law. We've helped, try to work with Mike and Bill both on the process and procedure. So, at this point, my understanding is everything's been moving smoothly according to the law.
Mr. Taylor, you have some input?
Jim Taylor with the Western Reserve Building Trades. Just a question in that, so it's my understanding, and I'm sure it'll come back from the contractors, that as you go in to get a GMP, gross maximum price, that's not done until 85 to 90% of the design build is actually done with the architect. So therefore, no contractor should be giving any GMP before they're awarded the project.
Comment on that, Mike?
So the GMP is the guaranteed maximum price, GMP. And that can be done as part of the RFQ. We did not do that. We did not give them a maximum price. We're getting that from the contractor. So the email went out last week. That's why we wait till the end of the month, so they can give us a guaranteed maximum price. When those proposals come back, we're gonna evaluate those proposals. If there's conflicts at that time, that's when we'll interview and say, explain this, what is this, what is this? That's when we'll sit down with the firms to decide who's the best for our grading criteria, and then make recommendations for award. That's it.
And the panel we have does consist of 2 people from the engineer's office,
Correct.
right?
That's correct.
So the engineer's office is in this process.
Absolutely.
They are gonna help be the majority to pick who the winner is.
Yeah, 2 individuals, that's right.
Okay. Anyone else, any questions on that? Okay, very good. Well, hopefully it runs smooth from here, because we need to get some people working. All right. Number 11, put on file the monthly report for the dog kennel. Number 12, approve a letter of support, on behalf of the city of Girard in regards to the meeting we had here last week, and authorize me to sign that letter of support. Number 13, expend the dispatch services agreement between Trumbull County and the city of Warren with their 911 service. So this is the same thing we had on last week, or is this just a continuation? Is this same as last week, Lisa?
Yes.
Same as last week, so there is the slight increase in there of 8,000, which I did have a, meeting with, Eddie Colbert last week, in regards to this. City of Warren is on board with however long it takes to get this done. They're not going anywhere, they're not threatening pulling out, we're not threatening throwing them out, we're not gonna pull the plug in any way on the city of Warren with their dispatch services, and they're not gonna hinder services at all to the citizens because of, this contract. They are gonna act as if they are still at this time under the old contract and continue it in the better interest of all the citizens. They understand the snags that we have here. They are totally okay with the increase, and actually, he said to me, with the $8,000 increase, it really didn't even warrant a meeting with him or anything over something that small. He totally understands the cost of doing business, and they're, the city's standpoint is they're absolutely fine with this contract as it sits. That's why they went ahead and signed it on their end, and for us to ratify it now, we will, hopefully, Commissioner Frenchio got the details that she needed, and we'll be able to push this through tomorrow without any further delay on the citizens of Warren, and, it'll all be buttoned up tomorrow. 14, removed. Is there a reason?
Actually, we're waiting for
There's no
an opinion.
Are we done for this?
Gotcha, okay. Number 15, ARP funds. We got it approved from Tanya, and we got the proper wording to give Brookfield Township $416,594 for the Wildwood Drive stormwater drain system upgrades. Much needed funds. They've had flooding there. We're getting into the spring. It's gonna be, people are gonna be well aware of it again once the rains start, and this hopefully will prevent the flooding for next year, by getting on the funds, and they can start to work on that. And then 16 goes along with that. 17 is appropriating the funds, $350,000 to the Port Authority for the Youngstown Warren Regional Airport replacement and upgrade of sanitary and sewer lines. Basically, we're giving them money to tie into our sewer, to fix our sewer stuff, which is absolutely needed. We want the airport there, we want the airport to grow, we want to be able to bring better service to the airport, and them having upgraded and functioning sanitary sewers is essential. So, this is something that they actually put in for to tie in the right way that we wanted it, and, I'm glad that she approved this, and I'm glad that they put in for it. It'll be good for not only them, but for our whole system in general.
Yes, Commissioners, Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineers. It's not only the connection of the sanitary sewer, it's the separation of the stormwater from the sewage. That's the main objective here.
It'll be a better functioning airport, and they just got some state money grants to expand the runways, repave the runways. We're gonna have a very modern, refurbished airport very soon. We've got money that, from many sources there, so that we can have the best product that we have to hopefully attract a new airline here and retain the services of the air base, and, let them call Trumbull County home for a long time because of this. So, we owe some thanks to the feds and the state for the funds that they're putting in, and we're showing our effort here by coming forth also of being a partner with all this. Okay, and then, the 18 goes along with that. I did see a typo on this when I was reviewing it. Yes. The next one is Family and Community Services, Inc., Valley Counseling Services, and that is a $100,000, grant paid by ARPA funds, and that is for the, project in Warren Township in cooperation, with the esteemed bishop here, and,
No,
no, it's not, it's a different one?
different. This is Family and Community Services, this is not, this is the agency that also owns Scope.
Gotcha, I'm
All right.
sorry. I'm sorry, I misspoke on that.
That's all right.
This is for the counseling center that they're,
Yeah, they run
Valley
Big Brothers,
Counseling.
Big Sisters,
Mhm.
all that stuff, yeah.
Yes. And where is it, where are they located? Where is the
Right in Warren.
location
this
of
one's
this?
in Warren, yeah.
Okay. I apologize, I skimmed over that one.
Renovating, it's behavioral health, and it's they're renovating it, they got money from Department of, Mental Health and Addiction, and they also got $150 from the city of Warren, so they
Gotcha.
pulled that together to do that.
I thought it was a little light from what I was seeing here, but I see at the end of it, number 20, I guess is what I focused on. Yeah, in the wording, it says allocates the last bold print, allocates the sum of $100,000
Oh,
to
this is-
WRPA.
Right, oops,
So we need to change that, it's still carried over from the last one that we did, we need to change that to this.
Oh,
And I guess that
yeah.
distracted me here.
fix the typo, just.
We got it.
So if you could just make that typo correction. Okay, number 21 is the fairgrounds restroom upgrade. And this is $199,998 to Integra Excavating. Bill, you wanna talk about this at all? I know you've been active with it.
Yeah, we had a bid opening, our Trumbull County Maintenance,
Yeah, turn it on.
so hard Trumbull County Building Maintenance. Yeah, we had bid openings last week, and out of 9 had applied for this project, and, Integra was the best bid that came in under the budget, so, they were awarded the contract as today.
This was using the procurement of the feds, because
It's federal money through the fairgrounds, yeah.
so we're not using our own local
No,
procurement,
everything's ARPA.
unfortunately.
This was something we approved as a bigger package for the whole fairgrounds, now we're just breaking it up into this
Breaking it down.
breaking it down to this one project,
Yeah,
yeah.
every project has to be broke down instead of one lump sum.
Gotcha.
Great.
So, they're gonna be happy about that, will that be done by the fair?
Yes.
Will be done by the fair, great, fantastic. It's gonna be a huge asset to the fairgrounds. Okay, number 22 goes along with that, thank you, Bill. Let's see. 23, adopt the following Trumbull County Children's Services Resolution and Memorandum of Understanding for the year 2024 between Trumbull County Children's Services Board and Trumbull County Prosecutor's Office. So, Bill, you wanna explain this a little bit? Let's see, between the prosecutor's office and children's services.
Bill Danzo from the Trumbull County Prosecutor's Office. Commissioners, this is a yearly, thing that's been going on with our county since probably, the late 1980s, maybe early 1990s, where we work very closely with the Children's Services Board for what we call our Child Assault Prosecution Unit. That's the kind of core group that we have in our office that prosecutes child assault cases. And, what happens is the Children's Services Levy helps fund some of those positions in our office for dedicated staff that works very closely with, meets with, has regular monthly meetings with Children's Services Board to kind of keep an eye on what's coming through, referrals they've heard, investigation of offenses, and then prosecution ultimately of offenses against children. And it's a way that we've been able to try to help the commissioners, frankly, ease a little bit of the burden on the general fund that otherwise we might have had to come to you guys to ask for more general fund monies. Children's Services Board has been kind enough to work closely with us, in exchange, obviously, for some dedicated service to help fund those positions in our office, and that's what this goes for.
Yeah. Good, Commissioner, with that? Okay. 24, adopt a resolution in the matter of accepting and transfer of funds for security services to be provided by Trumbull County Department of JFS, Child Support Enforcement Agency, by the Sheriff of Trumbull County, Ohio, to employ each deputy for actual hours of service performed in accordance with state and federal laws and the current collective bargaining agreement applicable to the assigned duties of the county general fund for transfer to the Sheriff of Trumbull County. John Gargano?
John Gargano, Director of JFS. If you remember, Commissioner, about, at the end of February, I had actually brought the JFS security agreement, and this was supposed to be at the same time. However, the state had indicated we were gonna do this as what's called a 4D contract with CSEA. We got an email then at the end of February saying, from the state that we could not do it as a 4D contract. So we had to go back to the drawing board, and what we did is sort of emulated the JFS resolution and putting it through that way. The only other addition to that resolution is at the last paragraph indicating that the JFS would be responsible for 66% of the total cost, and the county would then be responsible for the 34% of the cost. I do want to thank Major Villanueva and the Sheriff's Department. They were very cooperative. I had to do some things with Major Villanueva, and he got on it right away so we could put it on as soon as possible.
So this is gonna get them paid quicker, hopefully in the future, we won't have those things.
Yeah, once this is passed, they have some invoices, they'll submit it. The real process is the payment and how it comes to the commissioner's office, and then with the auditor's office, where that money goes to, which is beyond me, but they'll get paid.
Okay. And Martha, when it comes to the commissioner's office, how do we pay them?
We're gonna work that out in a meeting next week.
Okay.
Next week.
Next week.
Yeah.
We're gonna put a meeting on to help facilitate that. And then while we're there, I think it's important to bring up, I mean, I hate to do this, but we also need to talk
Alexander.
about, Alexander, DiVincenzi Bush, John, you're free. This has nothing to do with you. Yeah. So we also have gotten a new agreement from the Sheriff's Department for services downstairs that we haven't been paying for. That just came today. Sheriff brought it to my attention and was like, what is this? So we're gonna have a larger meeting next week. We need to work all of this out collectively. I've notified the auditor. We need to figure out, John's done his job now. We have the contract. How do we collectively work together to get the money to flow where we need it to go? And if we can do that is what we're gonna talk about next week. So, this is just one of 3.
Will my people be involved with that meeting?
Sounds good.
I think it's just important from an HR perspective, from a process perspective, we need to get everybody at the table and make sure, sometimes and don't, no offense to anybody, but people are working in silos, and then we realize, well, we can't transfer that money that way, or we can't do it that way. So we need to get Shara at the table, she's the one paying these things. We need to get John Gargano's people at the table, they're the ones doing the upfront work. We need to get the Sheriff's Department at the table, we need to get the auditor at the table, and then from a process perspective, obviously, I'm trying to help everybody come together so we can get this solved collectively. Okay?
You need a commissioner there, or you?
Yes, yeah.
Commissioner, would you like to do that?
I'm fine with that.
Great, perfect, thank you so much. Yeah, I need one representative. Thank you, Marla.
Yep.
I'll write you down.
Thank you.
So
I
we were
think
gonna
that's probably
target-
appropriate now with election day next week, you're in the same political party, and I don't want anything to appear political at all with an election coming up, as far as partisan
Well-
things when it comes into this, and that would be, I think you'd be best for that right now.
We just wanna solve it.
Yeah, we were gonna target, next Wednesday. Does that work for you afternoon? I'll get with Amy and,
Should work.
okay,
If it
perfect.
doesn't, I will let you
Because
know.
we would like to get them, I mean, we're not trying to hold anything up, it's just, we're not all, we
I
haven't,
mean, the crux of this is that, number one, we're gonna be charged for services downstairs, number one. And
well,
then
that's
number-
new, yeah,
that's new.
yeah.
And then number two, are we funneling that money that's charged back into their departments?
You
or is
got
it just
it.
going into the
Or
general fund?
just going to
Although,
general fund. You got
it is all general fund.
It is all
Just-
general fund.
And
You're right,
we've
Mark.
been,
You're right.
we've been kind of working through this a little bit,
Yeah.
and I
Okay,
think
yeah.
we'll have a good,
A good discussion.
Yeah,
a
it'll
good
be great.
discussion on how we can do it. I do have the TID that day at 2, so it has to
Okay.
be like after that, like 2:30.
We just kind of want to get it solved. It's been lingering
Yep.
for a long time for everybody, and we need to wrap it up.
Mhm.
And we
All
will.
right?
Deputy Palmer and I will be attending.
Wonderful.
Okay, perfect. Long time coming.
Working together. We're,
Number 25, approve an agreement by and between Trumbull County Board of Commissioners, Trumbull County Sheriff Paul Monroe, and Operation Underground Railroad, Inc., to purchase a computer voice stress analyzer for Trumbull County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $7,795. Operation Underground Railroad, Inc. will pay $38.97 towards the purchase of the unit, and Trumbull County contributions will be $38.97 also, to be out of fund number. No annual fee for the service, been reviewed by the prosecutor's office, and, Major, what's,
Major Tony Villanueva, Trumbull County Sheriff's Office. This is a grant that, was found by Detective, John Dina, for our CVSA, stress analysis. We use this voice stress analysis for, investigations. We also use it for background for, hiring employees and also
is this a unit, or is this an app on a laptop or something?
It is a laptop, and it's software that's, downloaded on a laptop, which the laptop is for this. John Dina will explain a little bit better.
John Dina, Trumbull County Sheriff's Office. So it's a physical computer that is only used for detection of, right now, majority of it's for pre-employment, everybody goes through it, but we can use the new version that we're trying to get to, so historical interviews that we've had, interviews over the phone, text over the phone, it needs an upgrade pretty fast.
This is like the newest type of technology.
Right, it's like, it's comparable to polygraph, but it's a
Yeah, I was
computer.
gonna say,
You
yeah.
just talk into it, that's it, there's
It
no,
can, it can detect certain
Mhm.
stresses or whatever.
yes.
Huh,
Major Villanueva.
never heard of it.
Trumbull County Sheriff's Office. So, Operation Underground Railroad is, that's given us the grant, and it's 50% for the, computers, the software, and, training.
We borrowed on Wednesdays.
Yeah, we'll use it up here.
Right, break it. Her out.
Break it.
We need upgrades, we might wanna buy the
Real good,
subscription.
needle will come off of it.
Right. Thing is smoking. IT, can you fix that? As big as one of the generators at 911. Okay, number 26. Oh, I wasn't talking about anyone in particular, I'm just saying we could all, yeah.
And your lie detector just went way off.
26. To concur with Trumbull County Engineer, grant special hauling permit for Jero Transportation. 27, right-of-way permit requested for Dominion East Ohio, permit 1 and 2, and Peter Momonis. 28, special hauling permit to move overweight equipment Midwest Land Clearing. 29, grant permission to close the bridge on Houselcraft between Hoffman Norton and Stroop Hickox between March 25th and June 21st. That's gonna suck for the people over there, but it'll be much better when it's done. 30, approve sick and vacation leave conversion plans for non-bargaining unit, Trumbull County Engineer. They did come down to 80-40, in compliance with the Commissioner's Office and our employees, appreciate that. 31, authorize up to $30,000 to be used as a local match for Trumbull County, TID, should the listed project be selected. Trumbull County TID is applying for state fiscal year 25 TID funding with reference to TRU Mines Road, State Route 46 intersection improvement, detailed design phase to development phase application. Total project cost is estimated to be up to $250,000. Local matching fund being sought in the amount of up to $50,000 from various local sources. It cannot solely be funded through this program, and should coming forward with a match strengthens the application. This is the number one project that was recommended by the TID, by our board there. and they have the funding for 20,000 of it, they're asking us for 30, so that we come forth in the application and say, we'll put 50,000 up in hopes of getting the full 250 back from, granted back to us for this project. And, Nick, you wanna talk a little more about it?
Yeah, Nick Coggins, Trumbull County Transportation Improvement District. The TID application opened up March 1st, it's due March 20th, so this is kind of a quick timeline. ODOT uses some kind of vague language as they say you don't require any local match, but we can't fund the full project. So, without saying it, they're saying we need local match, because otherwise you can't fund the whole project. We have sought from the local property owner $10,000 and the engineer, for $10,000 as the match. We came up with that of up to $50,000, which could come down. Right now, that up to $250,000 is, an estimate from our, Gary Schaefer at the engineer's office. He's gonna get the final numbers tomorrow. So that could come down, but where we came up with that 50,000 is at a 250, that would be a 20% match. It's pretty standard for most grants is a 20% match. Most of them require a 20% match. This does not require, but they won't fund it, so we figured that was a good ballpark to make us competitive. Most other grants require 20%, so this, it specifically says up to 30 because if we're estimating 250, if that comes down to 220, obviously our 20% match will be smaller. We won't have to use as much funds. But
Where are the funds coming from again? From the engineer's office and the general fund?
yeah, and well, the funds from the commissioners, we're just asking, you can pick where you're gonna pay those out of. I would suggest probably working with Auditor Yoder
Okay.
on where to come from, but I guess my assumption would be the easiest and best would be the general fund. But I didn't assume that I would make that decision for you. I think that's a decision that the commissioners need to make. The engineer is gonna be helping out with some of his funds, and we requested from the majority property owner in the area who is committed to $10,000 as well. So, we're looking for multiple sources, multiple pots of funds to not put any stress on anybody. This is a detailed design phase. The engineer's office has already completed a warrant study, and basically told them it warrants a left turn lane. So with this, application, we'll get the detailed design of where and how we're gonna put in that left turn off Mines Road to ease the congestion coming from the Bass Pro Shop, the Home Goods, the Myers, everything else that's right there in that area that's dumping right onto Mines Road and onto State Route 46.
It also mentioned that Cafaro has already funded the warrant
Yes,
study.
oh yeah, the warrant study was funded specifically by the, I think it's Howland Commons LLC, owned by the Cafaro Company, but they paid for that warrant study to be done, which has put us in the place to go after this detailed design. And our goal is to have this detailed design done in time for another round of funding or other pots of funding that will open up next year, detailed design, and we go right into an application for construction funding. Should the project be selected, that's the key. But we need to get this in to make a strong application so we can get funded.
We are shut down in that area, or will be affected over the Virgin Diamond as it gets deeper and deeper into that 3-year project. So the hopes are is to have this completed within a year, so that you got 2 years of easier, traffic on the public there as to not halt economy in that region. So that's why the TID, including the engineer's office in Eastgate, said this is the #1 project out of all the ones that were identified, that needed done for the benefit of the citizens. And I guess that's something too, we're looking into the legality of, since I sit on the TID and I sit here, and I would ask our prosecutor as commissioner if he can give a general thing on whether I should abstain on this or not abstain on this in regards to the vote, being that I sit on the TID, although it was a board thing and I abstained from the projects initially until we got the ruling. This project was picked before I was actually a voting member, until we got a ruling that we can sit on the board. But I would have to ask also the thoughts of our people as commissioner of me voting on this. We'll get the ruling TID-wise, from the legal counsel the TID has done, but I'd like to ask that also. Good, Nick?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
it, sorry.
And that concludes the, regular business for tomorrow. We've got a lot of things to discuss besides that. Let me see. Write it down so I don't forget some of these. Well, I'll tell you, while you guys are still here, Major,
Yeah.
in regards to last week's meeting, when we had, Chief Deputy Palmer here and you talking about some grant requests, I did go and tour the jail on Friday. Yeah, I got a good tour from Major Mason and, Lester, and, I would have to concur, based on my tour that I did, the lighting in there really is, I mean, it actually causes headaches, I think. When I was in there, when I got out of there, it was dim, the lighting is old, the lighting isn't warm. I don't know how people could be in there each and every single day with that lighting, so the lighting, I would have to agree, is a big issue there, from my personal experience. The floor, not so bad. I looked at the floor in areas, and I understand the floor is retaining some smells, the floor is old, the floor is peeling up in some areas, but I didn't see anything that jumped out at me as a hazard on the floors that needed immediately addressed. Now, I'm sure the state audit, feels differently, you know, it's been brought up about the floor and stuff in the past.
Okay.
But I'm just talking my own personal experience touring all the floors of the jail. I was, pleased with the staff that was there, from the medical unit, to the COs that worked. I think they were professional in everything they were doing when I was there. They have a high-stress, high-level job where at any given moment, things can turn to hell in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
And they are well-prepared. It seems like they had a detailed plan. From the stuff that I saw, it seemed like, I think, the conditions, jail is jail. I mean, it's not a fun place to go, and it's not a place any of us ever wanna go. But as far as our jail compared to other jails, you know, I can't compare them, but I can see that the people there are treated, humanely and with compassion from the COs that were there for having to do what they have to do. Now, of course, I didn't see, you know, they're on their best behavior, you know, we were shown, I'm sure, the good stuff. But there were some areas where, yeah, I mean, there's writing on some of the walls, the prisoners do their thing, they, you know, the area, I was a little not pleased, I guess, that they can never go outside, that we have a rec area, in the low security area. We have a center courtyard where they used to be able to go outside, and because of injuries and fighting and stuff like that, they're not allowed to do that anymore. I would hope maybe we can strive a little bit in the jail that some of these guys and girls can get a little bit of sunlight. You know, that might be their one solstice for the day to keep their mind right, especially with the lighting that's in there. If there's a way the sheriff's department can strive towards providing that again somehow, you know, I would advocate for that if we could, instead of them just looking out a window. And of course, the food is the food, it's jail food. I was a little not happy to see the food when I saw the lunch, but, again, it's jail, it's not a pleasant place. If you don't wanna eat that food, don't commit a crime.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah, I was a little, surprised. It is a business in there, I see that, you know, there's a business of running a jail. It's not the law enforcement, cops and robbers, good guys, bad guys. That whole environment is a whole ecosystem of business where you've gotta do laundry, you gotta provide the medical care, you gotta provide the clothing, and everybody that's in there says they're innocent. Everybody that's in there wants to talk about why they need out of there. You know, I get that, and it's gotta be really stressing on the employees. I'm sure you've heard, the COs have heard every excuse in the book. And, you know, I would hope just at times, for every 20 excuses they get, there might be one legitimate concern. So I would hope that every concern is at least looked at by more than one person, to make sure we're not overlooking something that could cause somebody more undue stress, death, suicide, whatever, you know, when these issues arise. I'm sure your training for that stuff is probably there, you know, you guys know better than I do when it comes to how to run a jail.
Yeah.
But it did surprise me, it's a business in there. It's a functioning business, from everything from commissary to cleaning people to, it was an eye-opener. It's different than like when you're a kid and you go through jail and they show you, you know, don't do this, you have some guy scaring you and stuff. Actually seeing the jail function on a day-to-day basis is another whole world of law enforcement and another whole world of the sheriff's department that I'm sure the sheriff doesn't wanna deal with, I'm sure you guys don't wanna deal with, I'm sure there is an employee there that wishes that the conditions, you know, jail was the way that it is.
Yeah.
But it is that way, and it's that way in every county and every world, and it's something that, as a society, you do wrong, you break a law, you're punished, and, you know, we have to provide for the people as they go through the punishment. And that's something that, there's a lot needs done with the courts on some of the sentencing things, I think, and there are some people that I saw in there that probably don't deserve to be there, but that's not your call, that's the judge's call. And there's some people that, I heard about one guy who's been in there 90 times. So, there are some people that love that environment and can't live without that environment. So, I would hope that the guy who's there one time doesn't have to deal with a 90-time guy and learn how to be a 90-time criminal, and vice versa. And does this time shielded from coming out worse.
Yeah.
But I guess with that, the reason I brought it up was there was a funding request for those issues.
Yes.
We need to, when the commissioners are approached with things, hopefully all of us tour it again at some time, and we see that side, cause my viewpoint is a lot different than it was last week, after seeing it firsthand. And like I said, with the lighting stuff, yeah, I think we need to strive towards that. The floor, if we can hold off on that for a capital improvement thing or something, I think that's maybe something we strive for different funding, than ARPA funds for that. Commissioner, you have anything?
Yeah, it is eye-opening to go through the jail. I go through, try to go through every year almost, and, I will say that the $4 million in improvements that we made in the jail have made a significant difference when it comes to security and to, you know, just technologically advancing everything about the jail. So, it is a business, and it is, has to be run as such. Yeah. And I think they do a phenomenal job. Jail reviews from the state come back 95%, 99%, perfect. So, you know, we want them to keep up the good work, and we want to provide them the resources to do that. We've done that in the past. We'll continue to do that in the future.
Major Tony Villanueva, Trumbull County Sheriff's Office. First and foremost, and behalf of the sheriff, thank you for touring the jail, and just looking at some of the, you know, lighting is an issue. And also, yes, no doubt, there has been improvements in the jail, as far as the camera system and, the booking, receiving area, and also there's the central command.
All new computer system.
All new computer system, making it much safer environment for our COs as well as our inmates as well. So, thank you. You know, looking forward to just moving forward, project after project, and, making it a little better. And I know half of a major basin, you know, lighting definitely needs to be improved in the jail. You know, with the corrections officers and the police in there as well.
Major, and it's one of the, I don't have to tell you, but it's one of those 24-hour operations that gets complete use 24 hours a day. No, they're not, how do I put this nicely? They're not using it very nicely, put it that way sometimes, so.
A lot of wear
We
and
have to account for the wear and tear that comes along with that, and we're full a lot of the time, so, there is constant, improvement that we're trying to make there. As it warrants it, so, we appreciate it.
And one thing too that shocked me a little bit was, people that wanted pencils, pens, you know, they had to buy them themselves, note paper. They had to have money in the commissary, and there's a lot of indigent people that don't have families, you know, they're in and out so much, mom and dad's in and out so much, they just don't have money to support the people in there. And that's probably why you get a lot of theft inside of there, and you get a lot of, problems in there, because people, they just want the basic necessities. So that's something I think the public needs to realize a little bit better too, and family members need to realize. I mean, they don't even, had one guy, all he wanted was socks. His feet were cold, he wanted socks, and, we don't issue him socks. We issue him flip-flops, you gotta buy the socks if you want them. And of course, we're using contractors that there's no competition, so they can charge whatever they want for a pair of socks and whatever they want for a toothbrush, and, it's not like us going to Dollar General store and shopping. Very expensive for a family member, to have a loved one in jail. And the one need that I see in there more than anything is faith. I think a lot of people in there, if you wanna break someone of addiction, you want them to find God, they're searching while they're in there, and to make sure that we have, pastors, the clergy, to be able to make visits there, to interact with the prisoners.
Yes.
I think that's important. I think that's the part that's overlooked a lot. Some of those people are sitting there all day long, and just, if they're hit by the right minister, preacher, and, they're looking for God while they're in there, and God can easily find them if we allow the access to our community out there to realize that.
When I toured last year, I noticed that there was a chapel that doesn't get used. And so that's an opportunity for a church to maybe go in there and do that, and do some Sunday services at the very least. There are also just, churches that actually, nationwide, that offer access to inmates, via, like, a virtual church. I was just out in Arizona at my, uncle's church, and they utilize that too as well. That sometimes they like to have, that church in particular likes to have a presence within the jail or the prison, like somebody that's willing to volunteer and kind of facilitate it, but they offer that. So like, you don't have to be a preacher to do a jail ministry. You can be that person that just facilitates somebody else doing it. But that was absolutely one of the first things I noticed, or one of the big things that I came away from with my tour last year, is that, that there was an absence of that.
Yeah, and we do have a pastor, in-house pastor
Yeah.
for the jail.
Is it, I don't know if it's the same in the jails, but I know in the prisons, you have to account for every denomination too. There's a pastor,
Yeah.
there's a rabbi, you have to
Yeah.
have all those, you have to provide those.
They actually talked about, when I toured the jail, what my interpretation was of this was that they actually provide Quran. So they're allow their time to come out and pray if they are of Muslim faith, or whatever the case may be. Now, I did ask that question specifically because I wanted to know about, always thinking of HR and different entities and diversity and equity. But again, that's available for purchase. If they can purchase a Bible, they can purchase a Quran, they can purchase, they have to be able to purchase those things too. So there is a little bit of still that money aspect in the commissary. They have to purchase those items. But I did ask the question specifically if pastors were allowed to come in, and they are at any time.
Yeah.
A pastor, if a prisoner requests
I actually see them walking through there.
yeah, if a prisoner requests to see, there was 2 answers that I got on people who could come anytime, and it was mental health and recovery, addiction. I think April Caraway, I should have took better notes, but I do believe that she does partner,
Yes.
that they have a group that comes in and can help with mental health and addiction, if requested. Again, the prisoners do have to request this. It's not just we're gonna come in and force this upon you, they have to request that. So I was actually pleasantly surprised by some of the things that I heard that is offered within our jail. I think it was only attorneys could come in, like, business hours, 8:30 to 4:30, but it was pastors and mental health and addiction that could come in 24/7 if requested. So I do think that speaks magnitude. Those are things that we don't hear about our jail system, and I think it's very important that we continue to provide those services, and that is a path to recovery.
In order to process that information, thank you.
Bishop, for the record, thank you.
Monument of Faith Church Community Family Outreach Complex. In order to process the information to our clergy community, do we do it through the chaplain, or what would be the methodology of getting that information out so we can assist those prisoners? We do frequently go in,
Yeah.
and we also need to know the schedule, whether or not our schedules are sometimes unpredictable, and do we have access to come in at our schedule permit, or is it the time that we have to go within the confines of those
So I don't know much about the jail, but what I do know is, Captain Lester would be the point.
chaplain?
No,
Oh,
Captain
All right,
Lester would be the point of contact for that,
I'll follow up with it.
because there is a process in order for a pastor, to come in.
The last time I came in, there was a certain schedule. I do
Yes.
frequently go in from time to time. But what I would be willing to do is to get the information and
Correct.
pass it out to our
I
working
think-
community.
Yes. That would be great.
Important it is for them to have that impact at that point, during that time.
And they did mention pre-COVID, it used to be more,
Right.
they did
That's
specifically
that.
mention that pre-COVID, there was a consistent rotation of people who would come in. However, COVID did change that a little bit too.
Right.
So I think Captain Lester was talking about trying to, now post-COVID, things are getting
Sure.
obviously a lot better, trying to kind of revamp that. So I'm sure he'd be a great contact for you.
I'll be more than happy to do so.
I mean, we'll get that to you,
Thank
sure.
you.
And Major, I don't know if you can answer this right now, but if we're on the topic of the jail, and, thought one of the, and maybe you could pass this along, or we can call a meeting, but, one of the most useful programs we had was the inmate grass cutting program.
Oh, they do that. I asked about
Okay.
Yes.
Are we
I'm sorry.
I know that there's trustees that you usually use for that, and, do we call them, is that what the term is?
That's correct.
Trustees,
Yeah,
yeah.
the trustees
Yep.
in the jail. So that helps with a lot of the seniors that we use.
Correct.
They're always looking for a program like that, especially,
The issue right now,
I know there's some legality in it.
yes, is the type of offenders that we have in the jail that do not qualify
Mhm.
to, so because of, how many people we can fit in the jail, and we're housed the worst of the worst. Those people aren't allowed.
Right.
And are not qualified to be trustees, so, we do have that program, it's just a matter of a person to.
Yeah,
to,
and if you don't have that right
correct.
trustee there, you can't do the
Yeah,
program.
but we still have that program, it's a great program.
You know, a lot of the seniors really appreciated it,
Absolutely, yeah.
that they couldn't get to, our senior services provides a lot of service, but grass cutting is not really on, we do a lot of home protective and that stuff, transportation, but, a lot of them need assistance with grass cutting, so maybe, I don't know if you have talked to Diane, Siskowick, Drikovic, and Senior Levy, but maybe, Major Mason could contact her and we can
I
get
will.
sort of a more cohesive program going. Anyway, wrap it up, it was an eye-opener for me. I'm sorry to get off topic. There are some things. While we're on the topic, there are some things that we can work on to be better. And I'm sure the hands are full there, I mean, I'm sure the sheriff would probably love to do a lot of programs that we don't have the funding for, the manpower for. That was another thing I realized through there too. They are always hiring COs because they can't keep enough of them. That's one thing. We talk about a lack of people wanting to work in our maintenance department, talk about a lack of people wanting to work, 911. Well, COs is another one. You gotta be a special type of person, because you're literally in jail for 40 hours a week, yourself while you're in there. And for someone to voluntarily wanna do that, that has the mind of not just being a prick, not just being a badass that wants to, punish somebody, but somebody that actually that's compassionate, that wants to rehab somebody and maybe, have the attitude to mentor while they're in there. That's the one thing I can see. They need to keep things in line, but at the same time, some of the people that were in there, it just seemed like they're probably in there because they didn't have a big brother, they didn't have a dad, they didn't have a mentor or somebody to straighten them out. And so they just get punished by the system, they get institutionalized, they just do it over and over and over again. So, to me, it just seemed like we need more of that stuff, we need more God in there, and we need more mentorship, and we need, even the basic necessities, like the one day I was in there, the TV wasn't on all day. And one prisoner was complaining about it, and they went back and looked at the film, and they're like, yeah, it hasn't been on. They asked the CO, and he said, well, they couldn't find the remote. Well, something like that, if you're in jail, and that's all you have, is watching Price is Right, or whatever it is, every day, and you don't get to do it, you just elevated everybody's stress level, and you elevated probably the danger risk and everything else for somebody that's just trying to do their time and pass through. So little things like that, and that's where it takes, everyone would have an awareness that little things mean a lot in there, and everything can get escalated in there. And, that CO giving a little bit of encouragement to a prisoner, it might change his whole mindset, it might change everything, and we just have to be aware of that. We don't realize that world's there until you see it. It's like being stranded on an island and trying to survive. You know, it's an environment that most people aren't used to, so.
Absolutely.
We'll work with you in any way that we can in the future, at least I will, and like I said, I was impressed in a lot of ways, but of course, from the outset, I could see a few things maybe where we can help.
Thank you.
Okay, the next topic I'm gonna get into, just briefly, is the hospital. I did bring that up last week, thank you guys. Did bring that up last week about the joint press release. We'll have that, I think, by this afternoon with the mayor. There is another group besides this group that met Saturday. They're meeting again tonight. They invited me to be there tonight. And there were a couple people that were at both meetings. What they have, basic gist of it is the community is moving forward, the business community, and some of the people from the hospital, employees, surgeons, doctors, just people interested in that are moving forward. We have a good product with the hospital we have. We wanna be able to steer the direction of the future of the hospital and have some community involvement, and not just read in the paper that there's a new ownership, new management, and someone else we never heard of that may or may not have deep-seated roots in our community. And I think that's what the gist of this whole thing is there are very good people that are working on this, way above my pay grade, way above a commissioner, people that have done this. I've never done it before, none of our commissioners have, but there are business people out there that deal in this type of environment, and there are people in the medical community that will help guide this thing through, so that we have the best service for all of our citizens. And that's something that, there's gonna be a lot coming out in the next couple of weeks as these groups formulate what the plan is and what the deal is. But the big thing is, nobody's hitting the panic button, the sky isn't falling, we do have a seat at the table as far as our future, and I have full confidence that we're gonna have great service, continued great service. And my number one goal through this whole process as commissioner is to see to it that those 1,000 people that work there still have their jobs intact and without interruption, and they know that they're appreciated for what they do, and we have a good product because of the employees. We could have like a football team. Nobody likes Jerry Jones with the Cowboys, but they still got a good product on the field, and they can't help it that their owner is nuts. So that's something that, we wanna have an ownership group that runs the hospital that has the same goals as the team and, is a Super Bowl winning combination. And I guess that's what we strive for, and we will strive for through, and trust the business community to make that happen. So if you hear rumors, go to the source. I got a lot of calls last week from unions at the hospital and everyone else. Everybody's wondering, there's so many different rumors out there, and one person saying the sky's falling, another one saying we're good, they don't know what to believe. You just gotta trust the process. Hospital's up and functioning, they're providing great service. It's on the employees. They're not gonna turn their back on the community. They live here. They go to work with a mission, and they're gonna perform that mission every day until they can't. So that's the good thing about having a local hospital with local people. And then we can talk about the bus. We had our bus tour yesterday. It was very enlightening for me. Some of the things that I guess I may have, had predisposed opinions, were cleared up a little bit. I guess the biggest gist from what I saw is there's very little bus ridership besides us on the bus. I think the most people we had on the bus at one time was 5. And 90% of the people that we picked up along the stop, we did the West Warren route, and then we did the, Elm Road route. 95% of the people were on the bus for food. And what I mean by that is they were headed to or from a grocery store. So we do have a food desert in Warren, where people were getting on the bus here in downtown Warren to go to Walmart or go to Sparkle for food, and that was the big gist of why they were there. So that's something that's not a county problem, that's something that hopefully the city can work with to find some ways in the food desert to provide local access, community access for them to grocery shop. And I think that would alleviate some of the ridership and solve some of the problems. I didn't see anybody get on or off the bus to go to work I saw one group of people that were going to visit their mother at the senior living center next to McDonald's on Parkman Road. So they were going just to visit loved ones. The buses were clean, but they were big. You know, once again, that's a big kind of overkill for 5 people. I did have lunch with Dean Harris afterward. The one other thing that really strikes me on this is the 2 routes they identified were the 2 most popular that we brought back. The one route in West Warren, we actually left from downtown. We took back roads kind of by the old St. Joe's Hospital that's been knocked down and reseeded with grass. We went up Todd Avenue by the VA, and we came this close to coming up to the Jamestown Bridge. And instead of doing that, we made a left through a neighborhood, and we took the bus all the way through a neighborhood for about 3 miles to loop back around down to get to Parkman Road. And I brought up to Dean Harris afterward. I said, if we're really trying to get people to ride the bus, why would you spend so much time in a residential neighborhood where you're not picking anybody up? Why couldn't we go literally the extra mile, go across Jamestown Bridge, loop around Giant Eagle parking lot where people go to the BMV, there's restaurants, there's Dollar General there, there's Giant Eagle. And then instead of cutting down one of those side streets, that we did, why not go by Jamestown Village Apartments where there's literally 2,000 or more apartment units, many people that don't have cars, many people that are walking. If you really want to provide service to the people, you gotta go where the people are, where the people would wanna ride the bus. And I said, since we're paying for this service anyway, can we adjust this route? And he said, well, there's a lot of things involved with timing, and there's a lot of things, he has a route guy that picks out how the route runs and this and that. And I said, well, instead of picking up 5 people, I think we could double, triple, quadruple that number if we actually brought them to a place where people would wanna go. You know, like the Giant Eagle, or like, by Jamestown Village Apartments. So Dean said he'll take it back and look at it. I hope they're able to maybe reroute that so we can actually maximize, because we spent literally 12 minutes on the bus and never picked a person up, never went by a stop because we were going through residential neighborhoods with a big old 55-passenger diesel bus, which if I lived on that side street anyway, I'd be like, what the hell is the bus coming out my street for every day? You know, there's no reason. Stay on the roads where people are gonna be. So that's kind of my 2 cents worth with that. I think it's a Warren problem more than a county problem. And as I rode the bus, I was sitting thinking the same thing. I'm like, people in Champion, people in Howland, people in Brookfield, people in Johnson, they're never gonna go for this to pay for this, because they're never gonna utilize this service. And I know there's talks, we can do this, and Dean Harris even said, hey, I'm not pushing you into anything. If you want us, we're here. If you don't want us, we're here. If you wanna go a different route, I'll help you. So I was pleased that his attitude, he wasn't the Gestapo mean old guy that I pictured him to be, forcing us in a WRTA program and paying and charging our people. That wasn't the case at all. So I think a lot of that has been, the message has been misconstrued a lot, maybe by the messenger. But it is a thing where even if we kept these 2 routes, 600,000 a year into the future, you know, that might serve us a lot, and that's something we need to look at and monitor down the road.
Well, I will say this, because it was the first day, I think, you know, the ridership is gonna pick up. That's what the numbers bore out last time too, that the ridership is gonna increase. And I will say that these are the 2 most traveled routes for those reasons, because it goes, Parkman, senior living apartments. That's gonna be a big, stop for them, because I know a lot of those individuals, came accustomed to riding the bus, and the Walmart route is obviously huge because we saw people coming in and out, and that's only gonna increase, I think. I do agree that, you know, it's a tougher sell countywide, because we do have, you know, we don't have that metropolitan area, like, you know, this big bustling, city necessarily, so where people are coming in and out of it all the time. But, so I think when you look at areas like Bezetta and like Mecca and wherever, you know, every township you can name, basically, that it would be a tougher sell for those individuals. And that's why we need to be careful, and I think a careful approach is what we've taken here, as far as, you know, start small, see how it goes, see the ridership. If the ridership starts to increase, if we see a clamoring for more routes, you know, I don't wanna shoot for a $7 million system when we can start smaller and look at our needs and say, you know what, we can pare that down to a $3 million system or a $2 million system. So I think we're going about it, in the right way. And I think these routes will continue to get more traffic because, as you mentioned, there are food deserts in those areas and they're gonna utilize these routes. You know that.
And that is a big business too. When you look at it, riding yesterday and having the meeting, the Department of Transportation is there for a reason on the federal level. They've got the grant money to give out, and WRTA is smart business where if their buses aren't running, they're not collecting that government money coming in.
Sure.
They got $22 million in the bank for a reason. And whether there's one guy in the bus or 30 guys on the bus, as long as that bus is riding, they're collecting the money from the feds and the state and everything else. So business-wise, they're good at business with what they do. Providing service-wise, needs a little tweaking. That's what I thought with what we saw yesterday.
Yeah.
We could've had vans do the same thing, and way more efficient, and way more efficiently. We could've had door-to-door service way more efficiently for what
That's
we
the
were
thing,
paying
yeah.
to have those buses run yesterday.
And that's what Dean will tell you flat out, is the door-to-door service is not their forte. He will mention that the fixed routes is what WRTA really focuses on, and they sub a lot of those, out to providers that we actually already use for our door-to-door service, so.
Right.
And he's very candid and upfront about that. Now, he will mention too that if you were to join WRTA, that they would bolster that and they would build that, but, in order to join a system for that much money, you'd think it would be ready-made and tailored for every need
Right.
that you have right now.
They're flush with cash, and that's one thing I realized is they want cash. More from us isn't gonna help the big picture of things. The other thing I learned was, this has never been brought up to me in my year and a half here, we do have routes in Liberty. We have routes to go up Belmont Avenue,
Mhm.
all the way to Giant Eagle,
Mhm.
and those are routes that come out of Youngstown, originate out of Youngstown, but the people in Liberty are being serviced in that area, or people along that corridor.
Their benefit.
And people in Warren can be serviced that same way too. If they wanna go to Walmart in Liberty, or they wanna go to a restaurant in Liberty, or all of the corridor there with so much doctors and everyone that are on Belmont Avenue.
Warren Express goes right
The
there.
Warren Express can get them downtown, from downtown they can go up to Liberty. It may take a little longer, but there is service to get people around, and that was something that was lacking. I didn't know we had anything in that side of the county. As we're looking, we need to expand, we already have that on that Liberty corridor. We already have it now in Warren. There aren't too many urban pockets left where we don't have the service.
Mhm.
They had mentioned, well, we need to go further into Cortland, and a lot of people thought it was Cortland, and it's not. We stop at Walmart, Cortland doesn't start for a few more miles, where it is. So, I think, like I said, it is an urban problem, and it is something that is more of a Warren, Niles, urban belt issue. And, as a commissioner, I wanna protect the rural areas from having to absorb costs for something that I still, double down that I don't believe they're ever gonna use. And if they got a broken down car or whatever it is, it isn't, we don't owe it to someone to give them a free ride because their car's broken down in Green Township. They can get an Uber, or they can figure other ways, the taxi services and things, to pay for that, to do that on a one-time basis, rather than us having a tax, that's gonna keep a bus running and bring all this grant money into an organization that, is flush with cash.
It's difficult, because when you look at Trumbull County, we're one of the largest geographic counties too. And as we mentioned in our, resolution number 3 about, National Agricultural Week, agriculture is still, if not the biggest, one of the biggest businesses here in Trumbull County, believe it or not. So, selling that urbanized bus route to a lot of these, and there's a vast majority of these townships, is difficult. We don't have the demographics of other counties somewhat, so we have to weigh that in every decision we make, and I think this was a perfect start, because it showed collaboration between the city of Warren and ourselves. We're addressing a need together, and nobody's bearing the brunt of it. We're working together across, political subdivisions and trying to address a problem, and I think we're doing that with these 2 routes.
Well, and so right now, we got skin in the game, but, I urge in the future, Niles gotta have
Yeah.
skin in the game, Gerard's gotta have skin in the game, Newton Falls, Lordstown,
Mhm.
they can't provide, just Big Brother County's gonna come and
Sure.
provide stuff for them if they're not
They
gonna work
choose to want it,
themselves
and,
for it.
yep.
I did see the need for certain types of transportation yesterday, and I did see what that need was, and like you said, the food issue was a big one,
Yep.
and it was a Warren problem. But, and like I said, I think it could be tweaked better. If we're gonna have it anywhere, we're paying the $600,000 total, let's look at rerouting that bus a little bit, same amount of time, and go to another area where we could potentially pick people up, and instead of here to Parkman, and then a whole bunch of dead space in between.
Right.
So, but I thank, Mike and
Yeah, Mike, thanks, John.
and, Dean Harris, and it was, we had a lot of people riding the bus, and a lot of people that learned a lot, the right people, I guess, on the bus, and I'm glad everybody showed, and we were able to all learn together. Really, we didn't have much of a chance to dialogue on the bus or
Right.
anything like that, but afterward, I learned a lot. I also asked that, you know, somehow they put routes on the bus, because people that are on the bus have no idea where it's going.
Right.
And they all said, well, you gotta use the app, you gotta go to the app, you gotta look it up on the app, and it's like, you know, does everybody, the people who are
Right.
servicing there, have the opportunity to have a cell phone with them with the app to see where it's going. I think it'd be much more convenient if, when you're on the bus, there's at least a map that says, here's our route, here's where we're going, here's where you can get to today on this bus. You know, I think that would be a little easier. So, looking forward, Mike, in the future, do you have something to say on that? I see you got your folder and...
Well, you had asked me to do a little.
Yes, I had asked, Mike to do a little bit of a press release, because it was important. We had the mayor, we had 3 commissioners, we did something pretty historic in a sense, that we all came together because to look at transportation, and no media coverage at all on it. And when they were all welcome to ride the bus with us, be there and see it firsthand. And when I got the bus, I was like, wow, this was a bipartisan, city, county, Eastgate, you know, it was a nice conglomeration of people there. And the public needs to know that we are working together for this, that we're not turning a blind eye to it. So I had asked Mike to do a press release to state what happened, so people know what happened.
Here's what I put together, if you want to look at it real fast.
Sure.
I'm fine. Does it just summarize everything?
It does, but can I ask our staff, can we take this, put it on some county letterhead so we can actually send it out as a release to, I wanted to go to the, Business Journal and all media, instead of just handing just a copy to Ray, not that, we don't want you to have the exclusive scoop, Ray, but this is something that if we can,
I think it's important, Alex, Stephen Jency Bush, I think it's important to, I know we're talking about the bipartisan relationship, which is great. I love it, that's how we should work. But I think that we need to make sure that we're promoting the route to the people. That's what I think is the most important. I don't think people necessarily, we think that everybody listens to these meetings, and let's be realistic, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't have cell phones to call into these meetings. Sometimes they don't have YouTube to listen to these meetings. Coming from working with an underprivileged, you know, I worked at JFS for 7 years, and that is something that was invaluable. And I do understand that these people don't have the apps. They don't have, you know, they're not listening to us have these conversations. So long story short, we need to get a press release out there, in my personal opinion, that stresses, these are the routes available. This is what, you know, this is a great thing. We are still providing you service, so they know what's available to them. And that grocery comment is so important, because you figure some of these people are using their SNAP benefits to go get groceries, right? So what we're seeing is collective county agencies working together in a weird way, right? I know it sounds crazy, but, you know, they get their food stamps from JFS, and whatever, they can take the bus services that we're providing. This is a great thing that our county is doing. Bipartisan aside, it's services for our people, and we need to really promote that so people know these bus services are available. And we did it at a low cost, and that is amazing, and I think that's something that we should definitely, I'm very proud of anybody who's had a part in this, and I think we all should be proud.
it is what we have right now.
Right.
So we might as well promote it, because that is what we have, that is our system we're paying for. And that's something, and then you tweaked a little bit, a few little additions that we can add on there, but I think that would be fine. Martha, you have
You should probably make sure, like, all the caseworkers at JFS have those routes,
Yeah,
and that
that's
they
what I'm
can
saying. I think
distribute
we
it
really
out,
need to,
maybe a card or something
yeah.
to give out when they're
211
dealing
is
with it, yeah.
That's a really good point, thank you, Martha. 211, is a lot of things, as a caseworker, we used to say, we can only help you with food stamps and Medicaid and so on and so forth. However, 211 is a great resource for food pantries, for this and that. So I think the more that we share with those sorts of entities, and Mike, I can help you, hook you up with Bonnie Wilson, she shares information, I mean, I share information. I still try to foster that environment where we're sharing the services that we offer for the underprivileged, because that is a part of our county, and we need to serve them.
do we have 211 here or 411?
211. Yep, it's through United Way. 211 puts on for us. It's a very valuable resource. Basically, they are a one-stop shop for all food pantries in the county, anything that JFS can't help with, or net transportation, or so on and so forth. So it's a really good, TCAP is hooked up with 211, if they need winter service disconnect, heat or AC in the summer, stuff like that. So it's a great tool. But again, to access 211, you have to have access to a phone. So you have to either be able to call 211 or go to their website. So obviously, some people struggle with that as well, so.
Because it's 411 someplace, exactly.
Yeah, here it is, but, here in Ohio, we have 211, so.
No, that's in Ohio, 411.
Oh, yeah, no, we have 211, it's always been 211 here, at least in Trumbull County, I should say,
That's not
sorry.
right. The other counties have been in 4. That's why there's nothing that,
Yeah, I can kind of just add a couple people on here, and we can make sure we get this out globally.
Yes, Sheriff.
Sarah Taylor, Accounts Payable Clerk. I hate to change the trajectory here, because this was a good conversation, but, Magistrate Bombeck, he called me last week and again yesterday and he's at family court, by the way. They're doing a project, and they've done this project with their own funding, the funding. Apparently downstairs, there's an area where, it was not secure, the employees are like commingling with, some people on probation, whatnot, just an open space, which is not really safe for everybody involved. They have started constructing walls and kind of putting some doors up where people can't enter and it's not so open. But they have hit a wall, so to speak, no pun intended, but the carpet. So they have funded approximately $20,000 for the wall construction, doors, security. And what they're looking for from the commissioners, because it is our building, they're looking for us to fund the cost of the carpet for the area. He said if you wanna go look and see what they've done, you're more than welcome to go to the building, he'll give you a tour. Yeah, so that's what's going on there, and they're just formally requesting that they get their carpet. I thought was a fair request, they paid for everything else with their funds, they didn't wanna deplete all of their extra funds and not have anything left.
Do they have an estimate? Do they have a price on it?
They had one back in November, they're gonna have to get 3 quotes, which I'm gonna be talking to Bill Hart about. They had quotes of $17,000 and $20,000, so that was back in November, that's not even gonna be, hopefully it's gone down a little bit. So we'll see what, he contacted Tondo, I think it was Tondo and Stoli. So I told him I would talk to the commissioners, and get with Hart, get some quotes going, and then get a formal proposal to the commissioners for approval. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have something, Tim?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Let's go to the end.
For Trumbull County
At
IT.
the end, I haven't.
We spoke with Valley Electric a couple weeks ago concerning the fairgrounds and wireless out there.
Ooh.
We talked with them, and they recommended first, before they even proceed, doing the official workup of what the project would be, to talk about the cost. And they're saying just very basic wireless out there costs about $25. Don't know if that's something.
Wireless at the fair.
Wireless, out at the fairgrounds, yes. Now, we don't know if it's something we even wanna pursue at this point, for something out there. Wireless, it would have to be set up with some very strict rules. It would only be for vendor access. You need to swipe cards, whatever you need to do, that would be fine. But it's not for streaming YouTube videos and doing your little TikToks while you're dancing up and down the
Come on.
Nope. So, I mean, that's what we consider.
Well, I think what we need to do, and I've been reached out, I had a meeting right after last year's fair
Right,
with Eastgate.
yes.
and they hooked us up with Steve Christian,
Mhm.
who works with, a lot of communications companies in Mahoning County.
Yes.
He recently had AT&T and Verizon both call me last week.
Okay,
They wanna put up towers in the fairgrounds, temporary towers.
okay.
You've
gotten further than I have.
Can I turn this over to you
Yes.
with these contacts?
Yes.
And I said this last year, Commissioner Cantalasa, we cannot have another fair with cell service problems like we did last year. And people not being able to get internet, not being able to make phone calls. It's not safe in any way. We had some issues last year where we couldn't even reach deputies when there was a fight on the concourse. We can't go into that again. We owe it to the citizens. We have to provide some type of cell, internet service to the people that are there. We're gonna lose people from there if we don't do that. And that's something, even the neighbors, because of the drain on the tower, the neighbors in that area, we're not real good neighbors to them because we suck up all the bandwidth and they can't use their phones.
Yeah.
They can't watch TV, because
Right.
we're sucking up all the bandwidth on the wireless and in that neighborhood.
Yes.
So, we need to be a better neighbor, we need to be a better steward, and we need to put this as a main
Right.
concern. I don't know funding wise what we're gonna need, but if we get Mr. Christian here to meet with you to get some
Yeah.
proposals
Mhm.
on what they've done in Mahoning and Canfield Fair and other places, when you get a large gathering of people for temporary
Right.
type of thing. I mean, I'd like to see, wireless year-round at the fair, so the people that utilize the fairgrounds for the other activities can continue to
Mhm.
utilize it as a friendly place to go and use 4-H kids, whatever it is. And then the wireless thing, we're gonna need to really beef it up, you know,
Oh, yeah.
AT&T
Right.
and Verizon during the
That
fair
honestly
itself.
is our best course of action, because wireless there, we're talking setting up access points, setting up its own internal network and all that. It's gonna be a strain to do something like that. With cellular service, it covers everything. It covers the emergency management, it covers for the vendor access, the people that are there, the citizens that live around there, it's gonna be able to take care of all of that.
Okay. Well, after this meeting, if you wanna come in my office, I'll sit down with you, I'll give
Okay.
you all the contacts that I have, and
Yep.
it'll be your baby.
Yep.
Perfect.
Commissioner?
Go Hart.
Bill Hart, Trumbull County Maintenance. Since last year, I reached out to Verizon, since that's what majority of the people that Alex has Verizon, you have Verizon. I reached out to a contact person who was supposed to check the nearest tower, which
Tim, I live there, that's why.
Yeah.
which was 2 miles away from the fair. And then from there, it projects to 3 miles away, and then 5 miles away, and so forth and so on. So he was supposed to send a check, never heard nothing back, reached out, never called me back, and that was a year ago. But could we do a permanent solution with our own tower that maybe AT&T or Verizon can put their own tower with their own service?
Mr. Christian will be the guy to broker that for us.
Probably, yeah.
He, that's what he does, he's working with Eastgate on all their
We
broadband
have
stuff
all
and
that
everything
property
too.
back there too, so.
Yep, so that's something where he can advise us, and maybe we can, throw a bit of Tim or whatever, maybe to consult with us to get it done, and we can entertain that. It'd be better, I would rather have one person, one link, than us deal with AT&T, than us have to go deal with Verizon, than us have to go deal with Spectrum. If we can have one guy that knows it all, that can broker that deal for us, I think Tim working with that gentleman or lady is the way to go with this. It's too important, that's an asset that is underutilized now,
Correct.
and this is a good way to market that asset that we have served full service there.
That'll boost the district going further north with no service at all.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, and he couldn't tell me which direction that 2-mile tower was. So here's me driving around looking for a tower sticking up out of a tree line somewhere to find out exactly how far that was away from the fair, so.
Right. Yeah, definitely something we need to do. We got till, July. So
Yeah.
now's the time we need to be doing the contracts and getting it set up so we'll be ready for July.
Yep.
So we'll do that. And,
All right.
Bill, any contact that you had with Verizon, turn over to Tim also and let Tim,
He might have spoken
Him
to
be the
same
point guy.
individual that I spoke to.
I just called a 1-800 number and I asked them if I
Okay.
need to look for a service on a tower and they directed me to
Okay.
somebody.
okay. Gary, you have anything?
I need a bunch of signatures.
Bishop, you got something? Let's get the bishop here,
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I think,
Yeah,
first of all,
one's for Lisa, one's for,
thank you so much, Commissioners and to all of you. Thank you again know, the consideration and the partnership that we have with the community down there in this complex, as well as with Trumbull County Health District. One of the concerns we have is that, those, construction estimates that we received some years ago, those numbers have changed, pretty significantly. And I did talk to Jim last week, and we gave him also the architectural rendering, which was not inclusive of that. Also, it was the other projection was for the pencil system, so we would submit that information. So, I'm just looking for bit of advice as to how should we continue to shop those, bids that we received, or how should we look at it in terms of able to meet that?
So the cost has gone up?
Yeah.
How much is?
20, sometimes 20%, 30%. We did not get the cost from the architect for doing the additional work for the project, because of their busy schedule. I had talked to him, good guy, Phillips.
Yeah.
Great guy, and, but he was able to share the construction costs, for the, canopy that would be critically important for what we're doing. I did submit that information,
Then we'll need to account for it, and we can
Yeah,
amend that.
you have, and this, you guys had 50,000 that you had frozen. So you could take that rather than submit a second request for something else, which we had discussed before, take that 50,000 and apply it towards this project, but we would still need to modify the resolution and the agreement, I believe, unless, as long as the project itself hasn't changed, that was approved, which was, I believe, 178 and change.
Right.
And you're saying.
Yeah, I think on this one, there was something with a parking lot or something we weren't gonna do,
Well-
just so the money gets applied to the
Well, it
original
was,
thing and not.
right, it was flooring, it was flooring that was ruled ineligible, and it was 50,000, and I believe you said about 20% more.
yeah.
But
That
the actual,
50,000 had already been spoken for, in terms of,
But we don't have an eligibility on
I
that.
understand that, yeah.
But if, you know, if you guys want to utilize that 50,000 to
Add to the original.
and then not do a second request, that's one option. You said it's 20%, and that would be about 36 more thousand,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
So, I mean, that's up to the board.
but just to be clear, the scope of the project hasn't changed, it's the cost associated with it.
Sorry.
The scope of the project
Oh.
has not changed.
Right.
It's the cost associated
Yeah.
with the original project that's
Absolutely.
gone up.
Yeah, and then the other concern we had was because of delay and the architect presenting all of the detailed information, so the contractors could give a legitimate, estimate on it. That was kind of, pulled up on that project. But, we do have that information right now, architect.
I'm okay with that, with what
Yeah.
Martha said here, and then,
We'll probably have to amend it
Okay.
to
Yep.
account
anything
for that.
more than that, I would say, at this point, you go to the Board of Health and see if they have a little bit in their kitty that they can kick in there, since they got skin in the game. And if there, anything outside of that, let them see if, because it is a partnership.
Can
They've
you,
got their own funds,
can
their
you
own
email
board.
me the cost changes?
Yes, I
And the estimates that you have, and then I will also, I'm gonna talk to you guys about discussing things with Tanya in a little bit, but I'll make sure that, we get that, resolution, whatever we need to change on it, and then we'll take that extra money from what's frozen for now, and if you wanna submit something, you can still submit something for them to consider it later, but something else.
Yeah.
But we also, remember, we have other projects and things too.
And I don't have a problem with shopping around if we have to, get it from that perspective. Nothing has been etched in stone in terms of signing off on the contract.
Well, let's get it
Well,
going,
then,
let's
you
get
know,
it going.
What
but
I mean, if that would help the project.
He's asking if he should look to see if he can
I don't have a
keep the
problem with
cost within the 178 initially, or at least closer to the 178, is that what I'm interpreting, what you're saying?
Well, what I'm saying is that, the cost comes in from the architect, what he's presented. That's basically, and the other cost comes, there's electrical, and there's a few other contractors you know, that their prices stayed the same, and some went up. Kinda wanted to address that issue, and we move forward.
Yeah, we'll account for that, that's
Okay.
not an issue.
All right, thank you, guys.
Very good.
Nice seeing you all.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything before we get to Martha? Bill Hart,
Well, I'm gonna chime in on auditor Yoder stuff if I need to, but
why don't you
I
grab
do
a seat at the table here, Bill?
I do have an update, on our dog pound. We do have, some numbers back. I don't want to
Oh, I thought you were.
exactly elaborate on them, but, I gotta get with auditor Yoder, so I'm gonna fund the dog pound, so I sent her an email and costs and whatnot, so.
All right, big question, and I got this call 3 or 4 times in the last couple of weeks. When do you speculate we'll break ground? When do you think actually realistically we'll have a new dog pound ready to go?
I'm thinking next year.
Break ground by the fall.
Yeah, we'll be breaking ground by the fall. We discussed it with Commissioner Kinham, Lacey, yesterday, and the architect that was here, with Michelle and Mike. You know, we all went through some things with the design firm that we hired. So to get under contract with them, we have to start with the fund of the fee. So, and I sent Auditor Yoder that,
Right.
their proposals, so.
So that proposal that you sent, first of all, addressing the, and I don't have it.
I don't have it on me.
There's the cost of the architect's fees. We have, the 209,000 that's in the donation fund.
Okay.
So we can fund that
We can
from
get
that.
that started
We
with
can
them.
get that started, so we have enough in that donation fund. The cost of the building itself, we need to start working on a capital campaign, Michelle has talked about having people that are willing to donate once they have a plan. I did actually reach out to both Michelle and Tony from the Voices charity about getting started on that, and I have not heard back yet from them, but I do wanna sit down with them and go over some ideas, because it would be nice to be able to fund as much of it as we can from donation.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, we may not be able to, and it will be probably borrowed money,
Right.
which is what we've talked about that already. But for now, I think the place to start is to go ahead and move forward using that donation fund for the $192,000,
To
I
get,
think.
to get the project started.
Yeah,
You
to
gotta
get
get
starting.
into contract with the engineer.
And then, I have some ideas for capital campaign. I have, you've mentioned, Commissioner Malloy's mentioned some things, and.
I do as well.
And, we also, Danzo's here, good, 'cause I have a question for him. When we're talking about doing a capital campaign, and donations being tax deductible, they're not tax deductible given to a government entity, are they?
Honestly, off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that, and even if I did, I don't know that it would be appropriate for us to advise
Okay.
the individuals making the donation.
Well, and
for
that's,
that, so.
the reason I asked that is there is a separate charity.
Okay,
And so my thought is that it would be better to do the capital campaign utilizing that separate charity, so that people can donate to and we do that right now currently for the dog pound, Voices of the Trumbull County.
501(c)(3).
Yep,
Okay.
it's already a 501(c)(3).
yeah.
So my thought is on that it would be, an easier thing to, because, people do wanna get a tax donation.
And that's possible. All I would say from the purely legal perspective for the county has very clear statutory authority to be able to accept donations.
Sure,
So whoever that donation comes from, it comes from, to the county.
right,
And of course, it can be earmarked for specific things,
right,
and I assume that's how it would be done. So anything else behind the scenes
Okay.
and that would really be
Sure.
more up to the individuals and their,
right.
and any nonprofit that's involved.
Right, and I would need to talk to them too, to see if they would wanna actually do the capital campaign themselves, how it would work, but I have included Tony, who is the head of that. But, they do an awful lot for us, for the pound.
And just real quick, Commissioner, these are, again, preliminary, even before preliminary renderings and drawings, like literally sketched on face paper and stuff. But we're looking at like 30 kennels. I think that would be, a definite increase. We're looking at a quarantine room, we're looking at, an adoption area, a visitation area, obviously office space for everybody there. restrooms for the public and all that. And a preliminary look at that, I mean, we're thinking around $2 million for the entire structure, so, I mean, that's, again, preliminary, but we're looking at what we need to borrow,
Right.
basically, to make this happen.
You know, I mean, I saw Mahoney counties, and it blew me away,
Oh, yeah.
and I want them to be jealous.
Well,
It'll be, I think it's gonna be great,
suitable
and I
to our
think,
needs.
yeah,
I
and I
want, I want
think,
our dogs and cats to be in the penthouse.
Well, here's the thing, you could make it,
I like that.
70 kennels,
Oh, yeah.
and you'd fill them.
We got
Right.
the
You'd still
animal
fill them,
welfare
so
lady.
What you
there's,
can afford.
it's what you can afford, you
Yeah.
know, we could put 70 kennels out there, and at one time, we could fill them. But it comes down to what we can afford. I mean, we're at like 13 now, and they're
Yeah.
terrible.
You build 100, they'll come.
So,
That's the.
so I think 30 is fair. We're just looking at the footprint of how that's gonna be situated on the land that
property.
that has been donated to us. You know, we gotta do some configuring as far as making sure the wetland issue is okay, and,
I reached out to the Army Corps of Engineers yesterday, they're supposed to send me a letter, if it is wetlands, the process, if it's not wetlands, we need a letter back from them stating that it's not wetlands, so the architect engineer can run with that.
okay.
I got word from the bank, it's officially out of the AWL's property,
Good.
so they owe their money on their property, ours is free and clear of any notes. So as soon as I get my paper back from Mr. Purdue, I would be sending it to the auditor's office, which then will go down to the recorder's office, and then just find some money.
We talked to Gary too about tying into the sewer line there. That's not gonna be an issue as far as the flow, going to I believe there was a 6-inch
6-inch
pipe down there.
Yeah,
It's like
there's
15 feet into the ground, by the way.
There's plenty of capacity, that's
Plenty of
that's the
capacity.
new interceptor out there, yeah.
That's great.
So, as far as all the utility lines, we're trying to not stray off that too
You
far.
want it to disrupt.
Yes,
If you disrupt, it adds more to the cost.
exactly. And you already got a slab there for part of the parking lot, so that we could just go right on top of that. So, yeah, it'll be less parking, but they're never gonna use that type of parking, and they never do, and neither would we, by the way, even if we were to
Correct.
when we locate there. So, it's exciting, because you're seeing the stuff start to come together, so.
The one thing I will say, or will add, is Tim Hanford, IT director, the one thing I will say is my department needs to be involved.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I know.
We're not even at that
I
stage
mean,
yet, yeah.
exactly, but I know that, I'm just thinking,
You're right.
cameras
No.
are gonna
Oh,
be
yeah.
throughout that whole facility.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you will be
and
in
we're
my
gonna
link.
need that.
You're
Yes,
in my link,
yes, so,
definitely.
thank you.
And then I know I don't need to say this, but he is right, forest data is going to be founded upon immensely, which is going to be cost. And then, Michelle, and if you could just, I work closely on, there's no point of having this beautiful brand new place if we're not staffed properly.
Yes,
That's gonna
of
be
course.
huge, so we need to look at payroll, that's a general fund,
again,
equipment,
25,
data, equipment, furniture, I mean, all of the above. So just, whatever you guys need, I'm here to help. When that time comes, we're far away, but just so you know, at least I still plan to be here.
And I don't know about you,
I'll
Commissioner,
keep
but I
you
am asked about this all the time. I mean, more than anything going on.
That's what I wanted to say.
Honestly.
They wanna know when and
Yeah.
when, and we gotta give them an answer. Amanda's gonna call tomorrow and ask.
I know.
So, let's just get it out of the way now.
I know.
Again, the property is split,
They're excited.
it's ours, we
Yeah.
need to do the
I know.
process to get it to the auditor's office, they do their due diligence, then it goes to the recorders to get recorded into the
Well,
book.
I wanna
But
make
the
sure.
property's
Yeah.
ours. So we
Understand.
just need to move forward, once we get the money and the funds to start contract with the architect design, then we're moving.
Bill's excited, and I don't wanna interrupt.
Yeah, of course.
No, just one thing I wanted to point out, 'cause you sent me over, I know, one round of documents on the transfer of property. There's probably gonna be two phases, though. The one is just a release of mortgage where the bank releases that portion, and then there will be a follow-up deed then that includes the driveway area and everything
That's
too.
coming from Matt Hart.
Perfect,
Once
okay,
we
he's
get-
gonna help prepare that
Once I
document.
get the paperwork back from Mr. Purdue,
Sure,
and the bank released the property that we want, the 3+ acres,
sure.
then he has to write the
The description for the deed.
description
Yep.
for the easements of the road coming in,
Yeah.
the road going to their Sally
Yeah,
Port.
so the release of mortgage
Yeah.
itself isn't really what's gonna go down to the recorder, we've gotta wait for that other paperwork
Correct.
to get that
And that's
recorded.
Matt Hart once I finish this
Perfect.
process.
So I got a question. If we were to tie into their sewer lines, and there was an issue with the sewer,
That has to
who's
be written in the easement.
We have to write that into the easement, obviously.
Either that or a separate contract of some sort, how that's gonna work.
I mean, all that stuff needs
Yeah.
ironed out still.
It does, there are a lot
But
of.
I'm just thinking ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, I think, when we get to, like, the tie-in, and of course, I'm sure that the sanitary engineer's office has experience with what we've done in other places where people have tied into other lines and things, so.
Oh, you were planning on tying into the Olympic Dreams sanitary connection?
Yes,
Dreams.
that's
I
the
don't know what
Olympic
that is.
Dreams, yeah, that's what it used to
Did
be.
you already
The
talk to us
yeah.
about that?
I don't even know what that is.
No, I don't think we did.
Well, that's,
We did a
that's
flow.
where the Animal Welfare
Yeah,
League is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I went there back.
we did a flow on how much water they use.
All right, you already talked to us about that?
Yeah.
No, not, well, I don't know about you, but I know we talked to Josh and the architect engineer design about flow.
Oh.
And through the six,
You guys got
whatever
a
flows
line,
through,
and you said there would be no capacity issues, you don't think?
and whatever
Right,
flows through that
well, I'm
six.
talking about the interceptor down, I mean, you got the Animal Welfare League here,
Yeah.
and then down to the south, you're gonna have
Us,
the dog pound.
yes.
Yes,
Us.
They're on separate parcels, separate buildings.
yes.
Yes,
They'll
They
be-
need separate connections.
can't-
That's
we
my
can't-
first take,
we
that's
can't
the
tie
first
into
I've
their
heard
line?
of this.
Tie into their line?
No, what happens when there's a clog in it?
Well, that's what I'm
Who's
asking.
responsible for getting that out? I mean,
That's
that's
what I'm
in our rules and regulations, each
Well, unless that's
structure
written
on a
into it.
separate parcel, it needs their own connections, they're responsible for the operation and maintenance of that sewer lateral.
Unless that's written into the agreement with them.
Yeah,
If we-
I don't see how that's gonna be such a huge cost, I mean, if you're gonna run a line over to there anyway, just run it down to 193.
well, that's 3 acres down the road.
I'm gonna have to look and see how this thing is, do you have frontage on 193?
We own right now from the drive going down into their Sally Port, you know where that drive's at, do you picture the animal welfare league?
I'm just, do you have frontage on 193?
No.
We have 300 acres from 183 up, yes.
You have frontage
do
on
have frontage.
193?
Yes, frontage is all the way up to the
So our
building.
property goes all the way to the
All the
road?
way to the road,
No. Bill, does it?
yes, we own 3 acres to the road.
Okay, so how far is it gonna be from the building to the road?
Well, we're sitting at the very top of the 3.5, or 3 point whatever acres.
Acres doesn't tell me
So,
distance.
I don't know whatever it is from there to the street, maybe 30, 40 yards, maybe
No, longer than
bigger.
that.
Yeah, so I'm talking square footage of acres, but,
But in your estimation, we can't tie into that line and write into the agreement that this, if something happens on this portion of the property, it's our responsibility. If something happens on their end, it's their responsibility.
We do not let
Okay, I'm good.
other people do
That's what I'm
that, and I mean, we're opening up a can of worms here.
Let him do some research on it, we're throwing this on him right now.
Yeah.
Here, if you could do a little research on that.
I don't see how it's gonna be that much cost prohibitive to just run the line down to 193.
Well, 'cause the line is literally right there. We would just be tying.
Yeah, we already got a 6-inch service connection there waiting for you to connect into,
yes.
and all you gotta do is run from there to the building, even if it's
Well,
a
that's what
couple
we're
hundred
doing.
feet, I
That's
mean.
what we're doing,
even-
that's what we're gonna do.
That's what we're
The
saying.
6 inch runs right behind the property of the new building.
We would just tie into that.
We would just tie into that 6. And the flow of animal welfare per their water usage, and the flow.
You wouldn't need an 8-inch line or anything. You wouldn't need to change the line.
I know what you're saying, Gary.
All right, here's 193. Let's say the Animal Welfare League is here.
This poor folder.
They're up in here somewhere, they got a line coming out to the road. Now, where do you wanna be? What,
So,
you have a building over here,
hang on.
why wouldn't it just go like
No,
that?
no.
Okay, then draw what I'm missing here.
So, this is the road coming up.
This is 193.
Okay, so the road coming up is over to here.
There's another road in here
Yes, there's a
somewhere.
road. And their gas and sanitary runs behind the
This is a
building.
driveway, you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yes.
it's a drive.
So
I'm trying to
they
bring it
got
up.
some utilities on a driveway here,
They have water coming up this side.
And
okay.
they have, behind the building, they have their,
Gas and sanitary.
gas and sanitary.
That runs right behind the
Which
proposed
we'd
property.
hope to tie in there.
Let me bring it up on, if I could bring it up on the TV, I would bring up Google Earth, but that's where I'm gonna go to.
Or Tim could probably make it happen. No, I'm kidding.
Google Earth on here? Can you Google Earth, the animal welfare league? You probably better.
That would be, yeah,
So-
really
That way everybody can see it.
There you go.
That's all right. I'm gonna get you the address.
Animal welfare league.
So, here's the animal welfare right now, and this is exactly how it sits. So here's their building,
Where's 193?
all the way up here.
Okay,
so-
all right, okay.
So here's the drive coming up. Our building would be in a percentage of this parking lot, which the sanitary line runs down this way, to the street, to Belmont Avenue,
Our dog pound's going where?
right there in the section.
Corner of that parking lot.
Right here.
And see.
Up here,
Okay.
up here more, but sanitary runs behind in the yards, and there's cleanouts as you go. Cleanout somewhere over here, and it's hard on my phone to see it. I think maybe there, and there's another one down here further before it gets to the street.
We should have Dave,
Yes, we can do that.
Dave
Yeah.
Snyder from,
Go ahead.
would you like him into the next workshop?
Just to give you an update on how,
I think we all need an update, yeah.
so all that stuff runs behind our proposed.
Okay, you're gonna have a building here.
Yep.
And it's gonna be on a separate parcel than this.
Yes.
Yeah, just run the water sewer connection right through here. You don't wanna connect it
The
to
water
yourself.
comes up here on this side of the road.
Here we go.
Okay,
Look at you guys.
I see.
Yeah, these are not,
193 here.
these are not sewer main lines.
No.
Or sewer, this is service connections for this building.
Oh, I don't know.
Right, but your sewer line runs.
Are you okay over there?
No, I'm sorry, no, right here, right?
Yeah, you're behind. You're behind.
Oh, Tim's like, don't touch the screen. Don't touch the screen.
Service lateral you guys are talking about.
And we're worried about
That's
tapping
where
it
the
now.
main lines are. But you guys are gonna drop a building here, run a line out to the water, run a line out to the sewer.
Why couldn't you connect here? The line's right here. So
Because this is not a main line.
It's a,
That's a service
Well, that's what I'm
lateral.
asking.
Yeah.
it's a 6-inch.
You just need to plan on dropping that building
Okay.
here and running your water.
Just more
sewer
talk,
right
but
down
that's
there.
what I'm saying.
It's not that much more.
When you're putting
You're talking about running a 6-inch line downhill at minimum depth. I mean, you're looking at,
How much, yeah.
if you're looking at about 200 feet, I'd say you can get that in for about $5,000. That's not that much.
No,
It's just a 6-inch.
I just thought you could, because the lateral comes over
One in
here.
service line, you could probably just push it the whole way, down to the water line.
But because the lateral comes down here and we have capacity in the lateral, according to the engineers, you can't just tie into that lateral.
Their lateral going down.
That's why we pay him the big bucks,
Right.
Commissioner.
That's right.
So I'm sorry.
I just thought it would be easier that way.
But I mean, we gotta do this right.
I agree with you, no, that's why you're here.
Thank you.
The $5
has to be lasting.
here is that, it's like, you know, like, how much
We're
is-
making him take medication, guys.
We're never gonna win an argument with an
Got it
engineer.
back, reflex.
He'll start throwing
Poor
figures out at us
Gary.
and stuff will be lost. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, very good.
That was a big meeting.
And what else did I have? Nothing.
Nothing?
For the dog pound, so, and then I need to bring up our law library stairs once we start into the.
Okay, before we get into that, we got one other thing. At the last meeting, I threw out the challenge invitation to our park commissioners.
Yes.
They accepted, actually,
Oh.
through Zach. Zach reached out and said they will make themselves available, majority of their board, to have a joint meeting with us regarding
Oh, good.
the dam in Leavittsburg on Tuesday, April 9th.
Okay.
Now, when I talked to the trustees in Warren Township, they said they can all be available during the day. Of course, we can be available night or day. I don't know with the park board if they said they do not wanna do it at Johnson Community Center in Leavittsburg.
Okay.
They felt that was hostile territory where people, they don't want 50 to 100 people showing up, ragging on them when they're trying to conduct business with us and actually talk with us. Now, of course, it'll be a public meeting, what we do, but they felt more comfortable doing it here at our office. They said, we will come to the commissioner's office and meet with you guys there. So, I don't know if their timeframe, if they were still expecting it was gonna be at 6 PM like we had talked before, or if it was gonna be something at 1. I'd like to offer the official invite to them at their board meeting, which is at the end of the month, for them to host a joint special meeting here at the Commissioner's office at 1 PM on April 9th.
Okay.
If for some reason they say because of their work schedules, you know, I know John Brown will be available, I don't know about the rest of the members, Zach will be available, but I don't know their other members, I mean, they have some lawyers on there, Mr. Moss, I believe, is out of town, so he won't be able to make it, but
Would it be
Mr.
better in the evening?
Arcangelo and, what's that?
Would it be better in the evening?
I don't know, that's what we have to see.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw it out there for our convenience with IT and the clerk and everyone else is gonna be a part of this thing, to do it at 1 o'clock, and then gives us 1 to 4, basically, to get it done. If they come back and say, gotta be in the evening, well then, we need to make accommodations to do an evening meeting where it can be broadcast, and we can have the clerk available and figure out work schedule-wise, if that's something that we can do.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, I'm gonna shoot for, I mean, I'm just happy that they're
Yeah,
accepting,
that they're.
and they're amicable to sitting down and
Sure.
discussing this with us,
Sure.
and not furthering this thing along any worse than it's already gotten, or worse than it is.
Will we make accommodations for this room, because I'm sure there will be people.
I think we'll make accommodations for this room. I talked to Julie Green today, and she said by all means, they can have an overflow length like we were gonna do the one day for the, annexation, if need be. But the gist of this thing is basically, you and I need to meet with the trustees and with the board and say, where are we with this? Here's the complaints we fielded.
Yeah.
Where's their middle ground? Can we come up with some type of solution here? At least delaying the project so we can get our Meadowbrook thing done beforehand, so we're not dealing with exposed sewers and exposed drain pipes and EPA having to come in and connect things in the interim, or people being worried that they're gonna have to put a septic in before we come and run a sewer line.
Right.
We gotta dispel a lot of stuff, and then ultimately it's gonna come down to, you know, is this project gotta happen or not happen? And if we, you know, we know.
Well, Eastgate needs to be there, and the people that, you know, beyond just the elected officials.
And I had a meeting with Eastgate last week.
They need to explain.
They wanted to educate me on things, and of course, Eastgate is for this project. They're
the driving force.
They are waist deep in it, but Mr. Koenig did say to me, you don't want this project, we don't want this project, we're not forcing it on you, we're facilitating it through their,
Well, that's the parks board.
their creative, what's that?
That's the parks board, you know.
It'll be the park board's call, but it is something we need to sit down with them and see. And what we want out of this meeting at least, at the very least of what we want out of this meeting, or at least what I want out of this meeting, is we want to know that if we fund this study, which we've been asked to do for $30,000, of alternatives, that let's do the study, let's pay for the study, and then let's look at the results of the study, because we can assume, but we don't want any assumptions here. The study may come back and say, it's gotta go. The study may come back and say, it's way more expensive to do this or that. Until we have all the facts, we can't make a decision, neither can the park board. Right now, we're throwing hypotheticals at them, and why don't we do this instead or that instead? We need the facts. The only way we're gonna get the facts is the alternative independent study. Let's get all the facts on the table, or at least allow them to say, we'll put the brakes on best we can while you have the study, and then we'll regroup again after the study's done, and then see what the best solution is for the people.
But here's the thing, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not us or the study that was done is the EPA study.
Correct.
And the EPA is the one that's gonna dictate whether or not this dam stays in there.
Well, and that's something that Eastgate told me, he said, you know, if you don't take the dam out, you'll be okay for 10 or 15 years, but then they may come and give you a decree that you have to take it out.
Right.
And, oh, by the way, there's no more grant funds anymore.
Right.
It's all in the county, since you guys delayed it. Now you come up with the, you know, the
Right.
tens of millions of dollars to get rid of it or whatever, at that time,
Needs
what the
to be
price would be.
considered. Yeah.
So, we just need it all on the table, because they said the EPA may come and trump us anyway.
Yeah.
And then we gotta fight the EPA, and I mean, that's a whole nother battle. But at this point, it's the park saying they're allowing their dam to be taken out, or asking for the dam to be taken out, and not being mandated to take it out yet. But that could be the next step down the road by the EPA, that's not our call.
Mm-hmm.
But until we get all the facts out there, we're lobbing a lot of stuff back and forth
Sure.
that we don't need to be doing as a community. And Warren Township asked us to help facilitate this, to at least get them to listen And that's what I'm saying as a commissioner, we wanna facilitate this meeting equally with all three groups, like adults, and come to the table and put the people first in this and see what we can talk about.
Sounds good.
So, then we will send an official invite over to the park board for one o'clock in this room on Tuesday, April 9th.
Okay.
Commissioner Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer, what I have to do there? Opening day at Trumbull, Pennsylvania is April 6th. And I mean, that is sacred to me.
Yeah, I don't think you do, Gary. I think we can, maybe if we have
Religious holidays.
someone from your department possibly,
All right.
just in case we get a question regarding that, but this is,
Yeah,
we're already gonna have
it's
9,
more
10
with
people at
remove
the table
dam,
already as
remove
it is.
the dam, as
Right.
far as the sewer goes, I'm moving as fast as
They're on the
I
front
can.
side, they're on the back side.
Okay, all right.
Sewer's going down the front side.
You're gonna do what we figure out the solution is anyway, so you're just along for the ride.
All right.
The quote for the lighting for the, Board of Elections, that's what Edgery wants to have done.
Okay.
It's under the 75,000 procurement. I don't know if she showed that to you, Bill, or not.
She did. The question was, though, whether or not you guys wanted 3 quotes on it, which is the usual process. But that's,
Yeah.
Okay. I could reach out to two.
Yeah, I would still want 3 quotes on it. I don't wanna just go with one. They're an independent body, independent board,
That's fine.
they do a lot of stuff on their own and that they're allowed to do.
That's
With
fine.
something under us, I wanna full transparency.
That's fine. We'll have that done.
I wanted to bring up one thing, again, speaking of, dams and
Yes.
things like that. Colberg Lake, I'm bringing this back to the commissioner's attention. It came up a couple weeks ago, as you guys remember. I have received word from ODNR that they are willing to set up a meeting. I guess a representative of, Hubbard Township was the first one to reach out to them about a potential meeting, but when I talked to their attorney at ODNR, she said that she would welcome the commissioner's involvement in the meeting as well. And the reason for the meeting, in her estimation, is just, again, so that everybody sort of knows what's going on. And that way, you guys can ask any questions of ODNR and their legal counsel. The owners of the dam and their legal counsel are going to be in attendance at this meeting as well. I believe a representative, at least, of Hubbard Township will be, on this, it's a Teams meeting, electronic. So I bring this to the board because we were gonna have some discussion on it today to figure out who from the Board of Commissioners would want to be involved, how that's going to work. I know Commissioner Frenchco had indicated that she wants to be, involved in that meeting. And certainly, I don't have any objection to other commissioners being involved in the meeting, so long as we're cognizant of the open meetings rules and things like that as we go forward with it. But I wanted to bring that up for discussion, so you guys could think about it, talk about it. You don't even have to make a decision right now if you don't want to. I've asked for a little bit of time from the ODNR. Their attorney has no issue with that. The only thing to be aware of is that right now that dam is under a consent order from the, Court of Common Pleas here to be breached by a certain date, and I believe that's supposed to start this year.
June, July.
So there isn't a rush on the meeting necessarily, but the reason for the meeting would be that if the commissioners get involved in this, if the Hubbard Township trustees get involved with this, that consent order is still in effect. ODNR would need to be involved, and the court would need to be involved in any changes or any proposed changes even to that schedule of events that's already been ordered by the court there. So, I leave that to you guys to think about, talk about how you might wanna handle that meeting.
We don't have a set date for the meeting?
We do not, no.
Yeah, but, all the commissioners can attend, it would just be a matter of gathering information.
Correct, yeah, generally, the rules for that type of meeting would be if it's information gathering, and the courts have, even our 11th District Court recently has had a case where they talked about this, that, multiple board members being involved in a meeting where they're gathering information, even asking questions to a third party, is compliant with the open meetings law. Where you run into trouble, of course, is if you guys would start discussing amongst yourselves. Then that's a deliberation and discussion on the public business. And, you know, again, there's a fairly recent case from our 11th district that talks about that. Of course, I always urge some caution in that, because, you know, if you start, you know, asking questions of each other, discussing with each other, there is a very fine line that's easy to cross there. But at the same time, I also see the value in having multiple commissioners gather that information, you know, the ODNR right now is the source of what's going on with that dam.
If it's a Teams meeting as well, there's gonna be less temptation to be able to have conversations, because you'll be in separate.
Sure, turning to your neighbor and discussing isn't so easy.
Right. I would say yes, I definitely wanna be a part of it. Yeah. Natural resources related, of course, and it's something that we need a lot of education on, because first of all, we don't even know if we can ever even fund anything, or if we even have an involvement.
Right.
Private property.
Right.
So we got a lot to learn on the process there itself. We're gonna need a lot of guidance, of course, from you.
Sure.
And from other professionals, on what our involvement can and should be. And at this point, yes, we support the community doing what's best for the community, but we don't have a dog in this fight right now, in my opinion. You know, like I said before, we have multiple dams throughout the county, we have multiple lakes and private property throughout the county, and we need to be cautious with this until we have some realm in there that this is gonna be public entity, that we have some control or some say in it. You know, funding wise, structure wise, I don't think we need to learn more on it to see if there is an opening for us in there. And at this point, I don't see one.
And if there is an opening, what's the financial ramifications of that for the county?
Right.
That always has to be,
And not only that, but what's opened the door to also, you know, I mean, we have somebody over on Eagle Creek that says, hey, I got a pond in my yard, my dam's failing, and it's gonna go into here. It may not be as big of a lake, you know, but to them, it's just as important, and there are other things that we just have to be cautious of, because once we open the door for one, we'll find out how many lakes and dams we have in this county real quick, once we do something for one that's on private property.
And that's why I think really gathering the information for you guys is good. Learn about it from the source there, and, you know, have an opportunity to ask questions of the owner even. So I'll help set that up. I will let ODNR know that you guys are, it sounds like all three interested in being involved, at least listening into this meeting. And then they said that they would try to find some dates, so we'll coordinate that way, to try to set something up for everybody and go from there. And then, like I said, Mr. Tedrow was interested in being involved, at least from their end. I don't know if there'll be other trustees there on that. But, you know, again, I know he expressed to you guys, he's interested in full transparency, so I think he wants that too, to just, everybody knows what's going on and we can all make informed decisions.
Very good. And while we're on dams, the funding of the study, we have a final ruling on that. I know you sent us something, but it seemed a little.
You're talking about the Leavittsburg. You're
Yes.
moving from one dam to the other,
Yes,
so.
that's what I'm sorry. I think you knew that.
Yeah, my understanding is the funding decision on that was going to be left to, I believe you guys hired, was it Tom Wilson?
Mhm, yes.
For that. The paperwork is waiting for signature to be filed in the Court of Common Pleas right now.
Okay, so you haven't done that yet, that's.
The paperwork is
okay.
done, it needs signed by Dennis. I actually plan on getting that filed as soon as I leave here today.
Okay, because we need him
Absolutely.
on that pretty quick to give us an answer.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, the red ruled paper resolution came down from you guys, I appreciate that, came down pretty quickly. We got our paperwork done, now it goes to the court. That's usually a 1 to 2 day process to get a entry from the court over there, so that should happen pretty quickly.
And then we'll deal with, Mr. Wilson, as far as potentially maybe getting him here next Tuesday, Commissioner, and trying to get him working on, you know, what our issue is and what our thing is. Now, are Commissioner Cantalasa and myself and Commissioner Frenchco allowed to meet with Tom at any time together to discuss this under attorney-client privilege without it being any type of violation?
Let's put it this way, there is that's a gray area, under the open meetings law. There's some legal authority out there that's not been hammered out very clearly. One thing, though, that is clear is it could certainly be an informational meeting. So if he's given the information, for example, your attorney's given the information that he needs to make an opinion, he could present that to you outside of an open meeting as an informational matter. As far as getting together to discuss, I would urge caution there. That's a little bit of a touchy matter. So is executive session, because the conference with an attorney is limited to matters that are pending or imminent litigation or court action, I think is the way the statute puts it. This, just receiving general advice, does not fall into that executive session. So, that's why a lot of attorneys, including our office, oftentimes are gonna communicate back to you guys through written correspondence, because first of all, it keeps clear what the advice is, but second of all, it avoids that appearance that the attorney's just meeting outside of the public meeting improperly. Again, I'm not saying it's always improper, there's some authority out there, but it's not as clear as I'd like it to be.
Yeah. Well, let's try to get him at a public meeting next Tuesday then, and go over it with him, and then if not, then we'll find one link that'll deal with him as far as here's what we're looking for, here's what we need, and then relay it back to the group publicly.
Sure.
Okay. Auditor Yoder, welcome back.
Thank you.
Can I just give a quick update? I need to make sure you guys are aware. Commissioners, real quick, I'm sorry. I just,
The little auditor can wait a little few
no,
minutes.
we are due to, this is Aladino, Decongestant Director. This is extremely important because it's time sensitive. As you know, with fact-finding reports, our CSEA, which is 3808, we went to fact-finding. I'm gonna just tell you right now, I anticipate all of our contracts going to fact-finding because they're not happy, of course, with the, wages that we offer. With that being said, I'm not gonna talk about what we're, but the fact-finding report is due to come to me and, John Gargano and Melissa Fisco tomorrow, 3/13 by 9 a.m., which allows us 7 days. The clock starts at tomorrow. Tomorrow's the 13th, right? Yeah. Tomorrow to get it on the agenda for you guys. We'll go into an executive session. We'll give you the outline of what the fact finder has found, and you guys will have to either vote for it or vote it down. And then also to the union, obviously, will vote for it or vote to strike. So that's where we're at right now. Okay? That'll be next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I just didn't want to blindside you with an executive session next week.
No, that's
I want to make sure you're
perfect.
fully aware what we're going into and how important it is to be there, because we do need obviously a commissioner's vote. So we only have 7 days. Thank you.
Sorry, little auditor.
You know I love you.
Okay. I got
work so
a
hard.
straight face now.
Just a little hard.
At least we're all talking about you and thinking about you when you're not here.
I know. First of all, I wanted to tell you that I've instructed, Christie to do the list of all the capital projects, it's a central list, and we'll get that for you guys to try to then prioritize, because I know that came up within the meeting last week about a capital projects budget. We kinda need to prioritize what needs to be done.
Great idea.
And so I've instructed her to make a list, and so we're working on that for you guys. To ARPA, approvals and updates, you guys have the resolutions in the agenda for Brookfield, Western Reserve Port Authority, and Family and Community Services. Attorney Rogers has 10 requests pending, Bristol Township Park, Warren Civic Music, Leavittsburg Train Station Gallery, McDonald Fire Department, PPE and radio response equipment, the Kyler Foundation, which is the Colberg Lake Dam study, and then the 5, ambulances. I had Girard ambulance on there from before, and I meant to take it off, that's why it's crossed out. The, other issue that I would like to kind of address with you guys today that I think is kind of important is, right now, and since 2022, just for a little bit of history, Mr. Masaki had been the only contact other than the Board of Commissioners, for the outside legal counsel. I'm requesting, because I can't always talk to her, without, because I can't talk to her without your consent, just a blanket consent to be an additional contact, and also to waive privilege on the opinions. I don't actually get to see the opinions, and a lot of times I'll have folks, that have been denied asking me why, and I don't know why. So, I think it's important for me to kind of be a contact with her and just have the consensus from the two of you that I can do that. So, and also, we also have the issue, unfortunately, Mr. Masaki's attendance has not been great. He's dealing with some health stuff, and that can slow the process down if I don't have that. So if you...
I'm in favor of that, absolutely, to make Martha a contact also.
Oh, yeah.
And waive privilege on the opinions, and I do think we need to kick this thing into gear.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
And
attempting to do.
With Martha's personality and stuff, she might get a little more,
Oh, yeah.
Small heart.
My personality?
no, I'm thinking like the little Chihuahua dog that's nipping at your heels. That's gonna make you run a little
We just
faster.
created a whole bunch of memes, you know that. The only
Could've
other,
said pit bull, but.
well, I wouldn't have minded that, actually. You know, I have a pit bull, and I love her very much. The only other thing on there is the updated, bottom line mini spreadsheet, which I kind of verbally gave to you guys last week after you'd made some changes, but I put it in writing so that you understand, what we have already done, and I might have some changes from Bill on some of this as well. But right now, as it stands, if everything on the yes list is approved and everything is at budget on the allocated and promised, we have, total allocated and promised plus the yes sheet, we have 36.7 million roughly. What we have available is 1.8, a little bit over that. So, working on that. The other thing I didn't put on here, we had some requests, that are on the allocated and promise sheets that have not been moved on. In other words, there's no action happening. One of those is Mr. Hickey's EMA vehicle. The other one is some stuff for 911. I've set up meetings with both Tacey and John Hickey to work on this, to start moving forward, because we have a timeline, so money actually has to be allocated, and it's not technically been appropriated, so we need to start making sure we, get some bids on some of this stuff and start moving forward, so I'm gonna be meeting with each of them about that.
I know a lot of it is supply chain issue things. I know Mr. Hickey's been looking for one of those command vehicles, and they just don't have them at every dealership on the corner.
Right,
It's
but
very
we do
unique.
need to get started and move forward, and I think actually both of them have sort of been waiting for somebody to do that, and so I'm doing it. And then you have,
I
Staff.
have a question.
all right,
We had preserved $250,000 for the law library.
350.
Was it 300? I thought it
Yes.
was 200.
No, it's 350, hold on, I just had it. I knew you had questions about it. 350, and that included, I think, the, engineering.
Engineering cost.
And the engineering
That's-
costs, we've paid, we've paid $38.70, and we have, 19.9 encumbered,
So,
$9.88.
with the commissioner's approval and of course the funding, I spent 2.5 hours out there with the architect and the, architect's construction consultant on the stairs. We had opened up the basement of the law library to try to find the structural supporting beams to the columns out front, which we determined pretty much may end at the second step from the top coming down. So with that being said, in construction, I would like to ask to reserve another 100,000 in case they run into a structural issue once they start saw cutting the stairs from the point that
So
we.
you want 450 reserved? Because
Well, we already have.
we had 350 reserved.
You would just, if I could ask for another 100 in case we need to
I gotta say
add
no.
structural.
I mean, we're talking of freaking steps. We're already at $350,000 on cement steps. I mean, any citizen we went by there and said, hey, we're gonna take your tax dollars, we're gonna take this money the government gave us, we're gonna build a set of $350,000 steps here, they would freaking run us out of town. I think the bid on that's preposterous. There's gonna be another way to build steps. It's not gonna cost almost a $500,000.
Are those the heated?
No,
No.
no.
So right now, you have, 23,850 towards the, I'm sorry, yeah, 23,850
Right.
towards the, engineering.
Correct.
Right? And then, so you have about, 326 left over for the construction and change. and you think it's gonna be a hundred.
We don't know when they start cutting the stairs off from the second step down where we think the
And it does
support
look
beam
terrible.
is.
It does look
If they run into an issue there, then it's a bigger issue than, and either we use it, if we don't use it, it just goes back, but if it has to be used, it's there available without me having to come and ask for a change order, and we know how those go, so, I don't know, and that's why I'm asking, it's up to the, so.
So I think if anything, we need to remodify the design of the steps. I mean, they're big, elaborate steps that lead
They're
up,
coming shorter.
that lead up to La La. Why can't we just have a staircase of steps going up to it and think about the tax dollars and realize we don't need to have, you know, this isn't in front of a building at Harvard or Yale, and everyone's gonna be sitting, eating their lunches on and sitting on, I mean, the amphitheaters couldn't have cost that much for the cement we have in there. And we're talking about steps for a law library that I would venture to say very few people use in this county, or at least citizens use.
The attorneys use them after hours and whatnot, so.
Right, attorneys use them after hours, yeah, it looks good, yeah, we need to have nice designs to go along with the decor, but I'm seriously still trying to figure out how we are paying $350,000 for cement steps.
Because it's, well, the extra money would be for the structure if they run into a structural problem. This is what it looked like back in, probably 1906. And we're gonna revert back.
No,
That would be
don't
great, I
have
get a
that
construction guy to
They're
do
gonna-
that for about $4,000.
They're gonna revert back to the stairs here instead of coming all the way out, as far as they come, 'cause it's ridiculous.
If I'm a public contractor, I'm licking my lips saying, let me get in on that bid, I'll retire.
But it's an 1800 year-old building, and it's a historical building. Yeah, it's historical. They don't come out that far.
Am I the only one that's thinking this is crazy, that we're paying
I'm thinking the same thing,
$350,000 for
Commissioner.
steps?
Trying to pay,
Gary, how much sewer line can you do for $350,000? How many people can we service with that money? How far can we extend a 6-inch pipe, for $350,000? To Ashtabula?
About 3,000 feet of it, so.
I mean, this is, I know it's not your fault, I mean, it's something that was proposed before I got here. Where it came from or why, it blows my mind.
It came from the historical districts, per se. But ARPA funding was available for the.
I understand, and early on, maybe when we had 38 million, maybe the board may have been thinking, 300,000 here, now we're getting down to the last, 1.8, and we're still looking at steps that when I walk by them, just one day I walked by it, coming down from, Court of Appeals, and I looked at them, I'm like, these can't be the steps we're talking about for $350,000.
Yeah.
And then I came and asked, when I came, and they're like, yep, that's them, I'm like, in what world are we allocating that kind of money for cement steps? They're not lined in gold, there's no nuggets in it, it's steps to go from A to B.
Material, are they like,
It's, all that sandstone's gonna come away. You
Yeah.
can't reuse that sandstone that's bordering those stairs, so they're gonna have to make a synthetic product that looks familiar
But
to what's there.
is in, whenever you're dealing with a historic product,
or do you have
it has to be
yeah.
historic, it
I
has to
think
match
that's
the
part of
historic
it,
material, that's
yeah.
why it gets so expensive.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
again,
what it
make
has to be a
look like what
sandstone.
it is,
Or look
Yeah.
like a sandstone, so they have to fabricate it to
Yeah.
look
like they
like a
did
sandstone.
to Stambaugh Auditorium
Okay.
stairs, they had to.
And I'm not saying, I understand what you're saying, however, I do also, we have to understand it, if
Yeah.
it is a historical building,
It is.
there is certain requirements that they have to
And-
meet. I agree,
In keeping our downtown, what it's looking
Definitely
like,
a
we
Jackson
wanna
Park,
keep up with,
but-
it's our building, I don't like cutting back on anything like that, especially a historical building. I mean, we could say the same thing about the courthouse, well, why do we have those steps there? Well, it's, cause it's part of our.
We could run now.
I'm just saying, last year I watched 3 people trip on the sidewalk at the Italian Fest, walking behind the courthouse. Yeah, that's something that needs done, and we're gonna spend $350,000 on steps over here,
That's
and you
one
still
city.
got sidewalks sticking up out of the ground over there.
That's one city's problem.
I understand that, but there is the least issue of
But this is our.
whatever it is.
Yeah. And it, I mean, I could just say, let's go for what we have, if we run into an issue then I gotta readdress it then. Structural thing is all it is. It's, we don't know where that I-beam is underneath the stairs. If you look in the cubby hole that we cut out, you'll see that the old sandstone that used to hold the concrete up is broke. That's why the steps are doing what they're doing. So there's a 8x8 sandstone that runs 4 feet length to hold all that up from the original 1800s.
That's why it's so expensive to fix. Just like anything in the courthouse is so expensive to fix, 'cause you gotta use the certain material.
That's where I'm at, so I can move forward with what we have, and if it comes to where it needs to be addressed again, then I'll bring it up again.
Yeah, I don't wanna allocate one more
Okay.
penny of ARPA dollars out of this to add another $100,000. That'd be build the stairway to heaven for $100,000. That's crazy.
Oh, that's why I'm asking.
Nothing personal.
Oh, I know, that's why I'm asking.
All right, Commissioners, another subject, I already discussed this with Martha a little bit, that sewer line out to, the Baker Elementary School in Vienna. I, sequestered quotes from 3 different engineering companies, determined Folk had the best deal. Matthews School is contributing $94,000 toward this project, but their money has to be spent by September the 30th. So, the contract with Folk, which I think is like $49,000, Matthews is just gonna pay that so they can use up some of their money. But they asked me, Gary, do you have your resolution from the ARP funding so that we can attach it to our paperwork, so that we can hire Folk? And when they asked me that last week, I'm looking for the resolution, 'cause I know that the board, you approved Baker, but I couldn't find the resolution. And anyway, the resolution was never put on the agenda.
Well, and that was because
Yeah, but-
normally when it's with county projects, we wait until we're just about, till we have bids, and then we do a resolution with the amount for the bid. I think we're gonna have to address this with Tanya because it's a special circumstance.
All right,
But
well, like on my
it's-
engineering studies and the engineering for some of these other projects,
Right.
we didn't bid anything out when.
Well, but if we had the cost though associated with it, once, the actual cost, we'll talk about it, we'll get it resolved, but
All right,
some
but,
of them we have,
but,
some we do, some we don't. It's confusing, but like, it's just like we have the resolution now, on today's, or tomorrow's agenda for the restrooms, we have the actual cost, so we do the resolution when we have the actual cost,
all right.
okay?
I-
So, we'll,
I don't remember.
I know,
that.
I know, but
I
it's,
got the engineering study for Maplewood, it wasn't exactly $250.
Yeah, but we-
The engineering contract for State Road, it wasn't exactly $350,
Right.
it was like $347.
right.
So
But we
I
had-
don't remember
The way the
it being that way.
resolutions are worded though, is the resolutions are worded with at least the general cost for sure.
Right.
The actual cost, but that's where we run into problems with the fairground stuff and all that, 'cause it's different. When we're giving it to an entity, to a separate entity, we just do as soon as we get the approval, we just do the resolution and the agreement. This is different, 'cause it's just a resolution, but we'll get it worked out, we'll get
All
it
right.
figured out, we'll make it work.
Well, they they're under the gun to get their money
I
spent,
understand
I
that.
sort of feel bad that I'm delaying them from
Right.
hiring folks right now, and I was hoping we can get it on next week's agenda.
We'll try to do that, yeah, we'll try
Okay,
to get
all right.
we'll get something from Tanya and we'll make it work.
Well, we already got Tanya's opinion, everything
No,
is kosher
she
with
creates
her.
the resolutions, dear.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
We don't write those, you know.
Okay.
Those get created by Tanya, so, or by the attorney, by the firm, that's why we
Okay.
don't have it,
All
understand?
right, okay.
All right, do we have the Vienna ARPA thing figured out?
We're gonna talk about that today.
Okay.
I will discuss it with you,
Okay.
all right?
And anybody else?
Real quick, restrooms at Veterans,
Yes,
I know the scope of the work, the bids came back all
yeah,
all over the map.
I
So we need to rework the scope on that,
I reached out to Bruce from PSA, and some contractors are wanting to install doors that are already there, so I don't know where they got all their information, so I wanna get, even though it was pro bono from the veterans to have them do this, I need a scope of work.
Yeah.
So I can resubmit it to these 3 individuals, so we can get an actual number,
Yeah.
not a goofy one, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, they're all over the map.
They're all over the map and not consistent on what they're looking at as
They
far
need
as
an
building.
apples to apples comparison.
For instance, you know, they wanna remove a door, add a door, remove partitions, well, it's just a room, there's nothing there. We just need a toilet and a sink and a urinal. yeah, they wanna add things that aren't there.
Then other bids don't
This one doesn't show anything,
account for that stuff.
and then the
We
last
need to
one,
get all new
so
bids.
you're talking this amount of money. Talking that amount of money,
Wow.
and you're talking, but again, they're not consistent on,
The
yeah,
scope of work.
But
on the
didn't
scope of work.
they
I
have some
agree.
additional things that they wanted to do too? I mean,
The veterans,
veterans, weren't they, some of those, I could swear that they wanted to change some things aside from doing the restroom. I could be wrong.
just the bathrooms, they wanted to add the restrooms, and what happened when they built the building? They plumbed it all there.
Yeah, I know,
Everyone-
I've
They didn't
seen
put
it.
the
I've-
restroom.
They never
I've been
added the
over there,
fixtures.
but I thought that within their office, they wanted to do, make some
They
changes
wanted to
too.
renovate a wall or two,
Okay,
and open it up and then make more offices out of it, so. Yeah, that, I don't know if they've done that part of it yet, but the bathrooms, it's too inconsistent for me to even award anybody of these. I get something from Bruce, from PSA that says, hey, this is the scope of work, and I can submit it to these, here's all you have to do, and then make that happen. They're all over.
Okay, since you brought up restrooms,
Downstairs.
what's the story there?
Well, I got
Any
a
progress since last month on the restrooms?
I got a quote from, a company who came and looked and wanted to do $50,000, $25,000 a restroom. I thought that's too high.
We don't have any maintenance people who
I
can
only
take
have
the tile
two
out and put them in?
I have only have two on staff that are working.
Sorry.
Two are off on workers'
Very
comp and one
unprofessional.
back to insurance.
Is that a job we would normally be able to do ourselves?
Give or take, depends on the
That's about
knowledge
weight.
of the person doing it. Me, I would do it in a heartbeat, but
Do we have anyone with the knowledge to do it?
yes and no.
And do we
Do
have
I
any
trust
positions
them?
open where we can maybe have someone that knows how to do tile in bathrooms as part of the?
There's a maintenance job open, but of course, the bidding, how it goes is through the 2493 first. And then you get what people apply on if they have knowledge of electrical, plumbing,
There were never any
and that's how
increases
we end up with that.
until this year, yeah.
Just seems like crazy that we gotta hire someone for $50,000
We're
to
just
do, when we have people on staff we pay hourly.
Overtime, and
Right.
it's cheaper
No,
to
that's okay.
keep them than it is
Perfect.
to.
He's
I mean, I could run it past Doug, he's off today, he's been off sick for the last 2 days.
You know he was gonna be
Doing
on
my
the floor.
coffee.
He's gonna be on the floor too, this year. That was so close, and anyway.
No, I'm gonna
It's
get
not a
that
hard
done,
idea,
too.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Let's see, if we can't get someone to do it, we need to get someone that knows how to do maintenance work, if they can't do it. I know over the court, I heard from Judge Blue over there, those walls and everything they're talking about, he said he had to hire outside people because our people couldn't do it. And so we got a maintenance staff
And
here.
what those are, it's more sophisticated than what he's telling you it is, I mean, but yeah, that work that he had hired, from George, what's his name? Did our bench downstairs, but anyway, yeah, he's a little more detailed and skilled to finish the product that he's working on down there, so yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, we don't have all that equipment that they have, but we have some small stuff that we can do, some minor jobs, small jobs, easier jobs.
I mean, if we don't have to do a total remodel, $25,000 remodel of the bathroom, I mean, we need to take tile out, put some type of tile back in, and hook up a urinal to the wall.
Urinal and a toilet bath.
That's-
Sink, fan.
Again,
Yeah.
maybe it's because new to government or something, but these prices, $350,000 steps, $25,000 commode,
Those are special.
Yeah.
we gotta change
Well,
that.
back in the day, we did have a $500
Yeah,
oak toilet.
I agree.
That was a long time ago. If you remember that conversation.
Whenever you run into historical.
Yeah, they don't make fancy, they don't, But, I'm sorry, Bill, I'm so sorry to ask this, because now I'm just a little confused, and I hate this. I only have 2 custodian positions posted for the afternoon, I don't have a maintenance position posted anywhere, am I
No.
supposed to? Okay, I'm like, maybe I missed it,
No.
and that could be my fault, because I was talking, and I'm so sorry, I usually try to pay attention, but, okay, all
There's
right,
one out there still, and then we've talked before about how it may transpire.
yeah. Okay, I just wanna make sure, I was like, maybe I'm missing something.
Nope.
Thank you.
So we are not hiring a maintenance person at this time.
Not at this time, unless
Not at this
you tell
time.
me to, then yes, I have the majority of the board to do it.
Do we have somebody leaving?
No,
Okay?
No.
I think that you need to, I think that the department head needs to readvise who he has on staff and their workloads and look into those sorts of things before we go just.
Because there's changes coming, of course.
We also have a
Yeah.
maintenance worker on the afternoon shift that could very well potentially, I hate to say this, but if you need the work on the day, put her on the day. I don't know what to tell you,
Yeah.
you know, where she has more to do. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm just gonna, you know, you don't want me to open my mouth on this, so.
Well, Commissioner, you look like you need some meds or some, something.
These long meetings are,
Long.
they're getting longer.
So with that, I guess I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Mr. Cantala Mesa,
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Ooh.
That one.